I never know why you don't know how to tell the truth. You don't know how to tell the truth. Yeah! I'm a fool, I've been such a fool. I'm blowing my cool with you right now to tell the truth. You say you went home early last night. The book you read's out of sight, and that's why you took your phone off the hook and never to get my call. It's a lie, I should say goodbye, but I'm gonna try to teach you how to tell the truth. You don't know how to tell the You're telling a lie. I never know why you don't know how to tell the truth. You don't know how to tell the truth. Yeah. I'm a fool. I've been such a fool. I'm blowing my cool with you right now. Tell the truth. You don't know how to 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 tell the truth.
That song sounds familiar. What is that? And what's it from? And what time is it?
Well, I will tell you in a minute what that's from. And, of course, right now, it's Thursday night live pod blast time. Yes, it's PodBlast time, except no substitutes, copycats, or copy readers. I'm Chance Bartels, your host tonight. Got a good one for you tonight, as always, and today, whenever you might be listening, we've got to remember some greats, but I have a contest tonight. I'm going to give something away. No strain, no pain. Just a straight-up easy win for anyone that wants this prize. And also, I wanted to start by thanking once again Becky and Donna Taft from the Facebook group The Fugitive, the TV series 1963 to 1967, for sending me this t-shirt I'm wearing tonight. Anyone that is listening on fistfulofradio.com could see this on the YouTube channel The Nostalgic with a C PodBlast, or The Nostalgic PodBlast Facebook group. Join today. We give away stuff and have some fun. It's a place for you to decompress. So, I want to announce this contest. There's a show that had an anniversary this week that debuted back on Monday, September 14th, 1964 at 8:30 p.m., and it ran for 4 seasons. And it was based on a movie, and I'm going to play, before I announce the prize, which I'm sure a lot of you who are familiar with the show know what it is. Here, it was based on a movie released in 1961, and I want to play the movie preview to this movie, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which was released on Wednesday, July 12th, 1961. It was a Wednesday release, not a Friday release. Let's listen. And here is a song, the title song, sung by Frankie Avalon.
Come with me, come with me on a voyage to the bottom of the sea.
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
You are there when the entire sky catches on fire, the burning Van Allen belt threatening to destroy the universe. You are there in a deadly rain of disintegrating icebergs. Not even the soaring imagination of a Jules Verne could have dreamed of such a fantastic adventure. In an atom-powered submarine that defies description.
You've seen the brain of the sub. In here is the heart, the atomic motor room. There is more destructive force in this room than in all the explosive used in World War II.
With a cast as exciting as the wonders they encountered. Walter Pidgeon.
We hope to see sights never before seen by man.
Joan Fontaine.
I say, the belt will burn itself out. At 173 degrees, it will burn itself out.
Barbara Eden.
Before Audrey Magini.
Peter Lorre.
Sounds like Sucre. Nothing is impossible.
Robert Sterling.
If I'm to meet your deadline of the Marianas, I need fighters, not fatalists.
Michael Ansara. And Frankie Avalon.
With due respect, sir, I think your judgment's been a little rocky lately.
Why, you gold-bricking pipsqueak.
You are there when the United Nations is thrown into a turmoil.
The burning belt must be exploded clear of the Earth's magnetic field. And we have exactly 16 days and 3 hours in which to do it.
Explode the belt and you explode the world.
You are there when the frogmen battle a mammoth squid. You are there when Barbara Eden dances to Frankie Avalon's hot rhythms. You are there in outer space to see the Earth encircled in fire. You are there when the mini-sub threads a life and death course through the minefields. You are there when the giant of the sea attacks. You are there in the most startling underwater pursuit ever filmed.
Great movie. Again, as I said, directed by Irwin Allen. So a few years after that, on ABC TV, a television version of that hit film released by 20th Century Fox, which now Disney owns, debuted Monday, September 14th at 8:30 p.m. And it ran for 4 seasons, ending on Sunday, September 15th, 1968, which was a rerun in prime time, that last telecast. The show is 57 years old. 110 episodes were filmed. And this show has a big following, And in honor of this milestone, one listener or audience member, as I call y'all, thanks to friend of the PodBlast, Danny Cochran's wife, Carrie, I'm giving away, as you can see on camera, a brand new sealed Season 3, Part 2 DVD set of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. It's the second half of Season 3. No trivia question required. All you have to do is go to the Facebook group, The Nostalgic PodBlast, and make a comment. But not on, and I'm going to acknowledge there's a lot of comments coming in on the live stream, not in this live stream comment section, but I did a post earlier today showing a picture of this DVD set. All you have to do is find that post, and the first person that comments claim gets the set. Now, hopefully it's someone that actually wants it. You know, I want this to go to someone that wants to see this and can play a DVD. This is a DVD set. But that's all you got to do is find the post. First person that says claim on the post gets it. And that's it. So I just wanted to announce that. And, you know, it's funny. This week there was a meme that was floating around on what I consider a competing nostalgia group that claimed that Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea debuted in 1968. And, of course, most know that the first season of Voyage of the Four Seasons was in black and white. Now, there were not that many black and white shows left on network television in 1968. And I kindly corrected their mistake with a comment letting them know. I said, well, you're incorrect. It actually debuted in 1964, not 1968. And they didn't even acknowledge your error or drop me a private note of thanks. All they did was delete it and repost it corrected, which is, you know, their prerogative. But I thought it showed, you know, kind of like a little bit of no class, you know. I think people should own up to their errors. I know I do. I sure make mistakes, but I own up to them. And this isn't the first time this particular group, whom I won't mention, messed up. They also claimed in a meme last July that, quote, 40 years ago today, Luke and Laura married on General Hospital. No, that happened over 2 days on November 17th and 18th, 1981 on ABC Daytime, which, by the way, broke ratings records, including beating the ratings record of the real wedding of Lady Di and Prince Charles, tying the knot that same year. Now, on a serious note, I've been really sad, and a lot of people around the world have been sad about this passing, the passing of Norm Macdonald. This is one that hit me really, really hard. I loved his wit. He was very, very, very talented, and he was a man of faith, by the way, I learned. But I have a nice little tribute I'd like to play to Norm Macdonald. I can claim no credit to this. This was something that was recently edited. You'll hear his first appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman from the 90s and some other good stuff, clips from movies. And this is about 4 minutes, just over 4 minutes long. So let's pay tribute to the great Norm Macdonald.
Well, this is great. When I graduated first grade, all my father did was tell me to get a job. Hey, you want to feed that donkey some beer? Get it all messed up? Maybe later. I'll go put some beer in a bucket. Okay.
And now, making his network television debut, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Norm Macdonald.
So I had this dream today. You ever have a dream, and then you wake up right in the middle of a great dream, and then you're back in your stinking life again? So then you try to fall asleep, re-dream it? Man, that never works.
Burt Reynolds.
That's not my name.
Okay, Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, what do you want? I got a question there. When do we get to light our torches?
When it gets dark.
Ah, I see. Oh, hey, I got another question there. Suppose, hypothetically, you know, a guy had already lit his torch. I mean, it'd be cool if he could just keep it lit, huh? You fellas have a lot of growing up to do, I'll tell you that. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Can you believe these characters? O.J. Simpson's new fitness video was released this week, and hitting the shelves next week, Simpson's newest video, Dorf on Stalking. The crowd is torn.
Mr. Reynolds, what are you doing?
Yeah, I found this backstage, oversized hat. It's funny.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. It's funny. It's funny because it's bigger than a normal hat.
I see that.
You know what hurts the most is the lack of respect. You know? That's what hurts the most. Except for the other thing. That hurts the most, but the lack of respect hurts the second most. I think Billy and his girlfriend are playing water polo or something.
God bless you. Watching your set was like watching Henry Fonda pick blueberries.
Now, wait a minute.
What's that? Oh, he wants to say something.
No, I just think it would be why, I don't think there's a person in here that would not love to watch Henry Fonda pick blueberries. This week marked the 5,000th performance of the Broadway musical Cats. It also marked the 5,000th time a guy turned to his wife and said, "What the hell is this?" Way out of line, way out of line. Have a good mind to go to the warden about this. Yeah, well, things could be worse, you know. I could have got my nose bit off by a Saigon whore.
You bastard! Chris Farley.
So this waiter comes to our table, Paul. He's one of the real oily guys. You know those kind of guys, real oily. He looks right at me. He gives me one of these, like, "Hey, enjoying your shrimp?" Hey, enjoying it.
So, he wanted to know if you enjoyed the shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Paul Schaefer.
Next on News 9, a shocking story of power and corruption involving a hotel tycoon. How his 27-year-old millionaire son cheated his way through elementary school. Stay tuned.
What the hell?
And now maybe it's somebody else.
But if something is true, it is not sentimental. And I say in truth, I love you. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Weaver, McKenna, you're free to go.
Ridiculous.
Born in 1959 in Canada. The great Norm Macdonald. We have some comments coming in. Scooter Parker says that Norm Macdonald said his influences included Bob Newhart, Bob Hope, Sam Kinison, Dennis Miller, and Leo Tolstoy. And Scooter also asks me, why do you have Frogger on in the screen back there in the background? Well, I try to feature a classic video game each time I do a PodBlast. This is an Atari 5200 with a 2600 converter. I'm old. What can I say, Scooter? I'm older than you, man. This is a nostalgia show. Let's see. Kim Ponders out there. Hello, Kim. Good night. I know this is late. I know you sometimes work late shifts, so I'm glad you're out there. Yeah, Scooter, that's why. And yeah, we've got to take a moment and have a moment of silence for Norm Macdonald. Just a moment here. He truly was a comedic genius, and I loved his show. He had a primetime show. It didn't last long, but it was really funny, and I remember this bit. And, of course, he chastised relentlessly O.J. Simpson during the O.J. trial. You can find the clips. It's just really good stuff. But I remember he did a skit where he's doing cocaine. Don't condone the use of hard illegal drugs, but it was a funny bit. I'll never forget watching it on the Norm Macdonald show in prime time. He was just hilarious. Loved his movies. See if there's any other. Turd Ferguson, of course. We played a clip of that in that remembrance of Norm Macdonald. He's just one of my favorite comedians of all time. And I could talk more about him, but I already featured him in a PodBlast 3 weeks ago. I'm doing a series on Sundays about the greatest stand-up comedians of all time, and I played a recent set he did about the coronavirus, and I covered a mini biography of Norm Macdonald. So anyone that wants to catch that, you can go to fistfulofradio.com. I schedule it often there, and it's on YouTube. It's towards the beginning. I think he was the second or third comedian I featured, and I'll put a timestamp on it so you don't have to listen to my big fat mouth for 3 hours to get to the Norm Macdonald piece. But there's a lot of good remembrances on YouTube. I mean, far better than mine. And we will never forget Norm Macdonald. He's one of the greatest. Now, continuing on with tonight's show, there are a couple television anniversaries I want to acknowledge. And again, I wasn't trying to just glaze over Norm Macdonald. I talked about him before he passed away, and you know, it's a big, big loss. So I just want to move along because it's getting a little late. And I want to play some music that'll tip you off to a big television anniversary that we're going to talk about next.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits.
That's right, The Outer Limits debuted in 1963. It was a groundbreaking show, and it debuted 58 years ago. And that announcer was Vic Perrin. He was known as the control voice and also the narrator of the original Outer Limits, which later was brought back on Showtime in 1995. But I just love that theme by Dominique Frontier. And let's see, I wanted to play for you another clip. Let me pull this up from the Outer Limits. Here we go. There was another title. Originally, in the unaired pilot, the show was not called The Outer Limits. It was called Please Stand By. And I wanted to play the original opening. It's similar to the one you just heard, not trying to be repetitive.
Do not attempt to adjust the picture
I'm going to back this
clarity. For
Here we go.
Your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to outer space. Please stand by.
Pretty cool. And that first pilot, which did air, it's called The Galaxy Being. That was the unaired version of it. It's about a radio station. And you had a lot of good actors in that pilot. But The Outer Limits was an American television series by United Artists that was broadcast on ABC TV from Monday, September 16th, 1963 to Saturday, January 16th, 1965 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday nights. It's often compared to The Twilight Zone, which was a half-hour show, except for the fourth season of The Twilight Zone when they expanded to an hour and then they cut back to half an hour for the fifth and final season of The Twilight Zone. But The Outer Limits had a greater emphasis on science fiction stories rather than stories of fantasy or the supernatural. It's an anthology, which means different actors, different stories each week, of self-contained episodes, sometimes with plot twists at their ends. The writing on The Outer Limits was impeccable. Writers included the creator of The Outer Limits, Leslie Stevens, and Joseph Stefano. And Joseph Stefano was the screenwriter for the hit film Psycho in 1960 by Alfred Hitchcock. And Joseph Stefano was the producer for season 1 and the creative guiding force of the show, who wrote more of the series episodes than anyone else. And future Oscar-winning screenwriter Robert Towne, who wrote Chinatown, wrote an episode titled The Chameleon, the final season 1 episode produced, which guest starred Robert Duvall, who was infiltrating real aliens that landed. He was surgically altered to look like an alien, and he infiltrated them. Let's see. And season 2 had some well-written episodes, even though season 1 is better than season 2, in my opinion and in most people's opinion. But you had some exceptions. Demon with a Glass Hand and Soldier, both written by Harlan Ellison, who wrote arguably one of the best episodes of Star Trek a few years later, can't talk, titled City on the Edge of Forever, a time travel story that guest starred Joan Collins in 1966. Filmed in 66, aired in 67. But getting back to Outer Limits, writer Joseph Stefano was recruited in a late-night phone call from producer Leslie Stevens, who Stefano was friends with and had known for years. Stevens showed up with composer-producer Dominique Frontier, who went on after Outer Limits to score 12 O'Clock High and other shows like The Invaders. But they together pitched the series to Joseph Stefano and asked him to come on as a writer and producer. Stefano, who had never produced before, felt reassured by associate producer Robert Justman to support him, as Justman had experience in TV. And Robert Justman went on to work on Star Trek. A lot of these guys went on to do Star Trek, but sticking to the Outer Limits here, Season 1 combined science fiction and horror elements, while Season 2 was more focused on hard science fiction stories, dropping the reoccurring scary monster of the week motif of Season 1. Each show in Season 1 was to have a monster or creature as a critical part of the storyline. Season 1 of The Outer Limits, writer and producer Joseph Stefano believed this element was necessary to provide fear, suspense, or at least a center for plot development. This kind of story element became known as the bear, meaning monster. They called it a bear. This device was, however, mostly dropped in Season 2 when Joseph Stefano left. And another producer, Ben Brady, took over, who I'll talk about in a second. And the show had a severe budget cut, and the quality of Season 2 really, really dropped. And it only lasted half a season. Oh, there were a couple Season 1 episodes with no monster or bear. And this is a very interesting episode and pretty scary in today's times. This is an early episode titled The 100 Days of the Dragon. And in the plot, a newly elected U.S. president was replaced by a Chinese spy using a revolutionary drug which allows one's face to be molded like clay into any form desired to create the ultimate imposter. The real president, this was freaky, was shot to death in the face in a very violent scene in The Outer Limits episode, The 100 Days of the Dragon. The actor chosen to portray the president was Sidney Blackmer as William Lyon Selby and Selby's doppelganger, Ho Chi Wong. Sidney is best known for acting in the hit movie Rosemary's Baby a few years later, released Friday, June 12, 1968. And by the way, that movie, Rosemary's Baby, cost $3.2 million to produce, but scored over $33.4 million in box office ticket sales. Sidney Blackmer died Sunday, October 6th, 1973 from cancer at the age of 78. Now, the actor who was cast to portray the real and fake vice president in that episode, 100 Days of the Dragon Outer Limits, was Philip Pine, who looked a lot like Richard Nixon. This episode, 100 Days of the Dragon, aired on September 23rd, 1963, just 2 months before John F. Kennedy's fateful date with death, on Friday, November 22nd, 1963, in which, of course, it really hits home. You know, this happened, like I said, this was produced obviously months before the real death of Kennedy. But if you see this episode, I don't know if it's on YouTube. It's on DVD, and I think it is streaming. Yes, I've seen it on Pluto TV. Someone is streaming. It might be on Apple TV. Someone's streaming The Outer Limits, and please, it's very chilling. I implore you to watch the episode with no monster. It's a political thriller, 100 Days of the Dragon, where China does basically they commit the ultimate act of war, and it's a very, very chilling episode, and it holds up. So another episode of The Outer Limits that featured no monster was The Borderland. That was the second episode shot after the pilot, which the pilot starred Cliff Robertson. Didn't mention that in The Galaxy Being, but The Borderland was made just before the rules established to feature a monster every week. Season 2 episodes of Outer Limits that did have a monster include Keeper of the Purple Twilight, which had Ted Knight in it in a minor role, The Duplicate Man, and the final episode produced called The Probe. That's The Probe. Monsters appear near the conclusion of the Season 2 episodes Counterweight, The Invisible Enemy, which starred a pre-Batman Adam West with a fake monster, and there was a monster, it looked so fake, and Cold Hands Warm Heart, which guest starred William Shatner, and William Shatner, he is a good actor, but he sure had some stinker performances, and including this episode of Outer Limits. He was terrible in it. I mean, he's panned all the time for his acting in this. And of course, he was mostly good in Star Trek, but there's some Star Trek episodes too, where he's just so over the top with his overacting and so horrible. But I like William Shatner. I'm a fanboy, but you know what? I am not a yes man. I'm not just going to blindly say Shatner was great and everything, because he wasn't. I mean, let's be real here. Now, another big monster in Outer Limits back in season 1 appeared in an episode titled The Architects of Fear with Robert Culp, who went on to be star in the 80s in The Greatest American Hero. And he was in I Spy with the Bill Cosby as his guest star a couple of years after this was shot. But in Architects of Fear, this was a story where leaders of the world want to unite people. And so they turn a man into a monster with surgery and other techniques. And so they draw lots to see which one on this board. It's in a boardroom in the beginning of the episode. And they have like a sample, looks like a little insect or something, or a little monkey hopping around that they took DNA from to make a human being a real monster. And the idea is they're going to simulate an alien landing to unify the world. And something goes wrong. But that episode actually, some of the ABC local affiliates found it to be so frightening that they broadcast a black screen during that episode. And the alien was called a Thetan, Thetan, a Thetan. And that was the monster that Robert Culp transformed into. And so the episode was censored throughout most of the episode's last act when the monster appeared back in 1963. And that was one of the first episodes that aired of The Outer Limits. And in other parts of the United States, the footage was tape delayed until after the 11 p.m. news. And in other markets, it wasn't shown at all. But that's another good episode, The Architects of Fear. Now, there are a lot of good actors in The Outer Limits, like Martin Landau. And then this guy's still working today. David McCallum, who the next year would star in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., is Ilya, the Russian. But he was in several Outer Limits episodes, or a couple, including a spin-off attempt of a new show. It was more of a horror show, and I'll play a clip of that in a second. But a few of the monsters from the Outer Limits reappeared in Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek later in the 60s, including the moving micro beast from the probe, the last Outer Limits. It became the Horta in an episode called Devil in the Dark. I know a lot of people won't know what the hell I'm talking about or care, but that was an episode with a living rock creature that unfortunately was killing human beings to protect its unborn babies that were like silicone spheres. And they didn't know those were babies. They thought they were just rocks. But that was like a late season 1 episode of Star Trek. So they recycled that Outer Limits monster in that one. And it was operated by the same actor named Janusz Prochaska, who had played the Thetan in The Architects of Fear. And he played many of the monsters in the Outer Limits and in Star Trek. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if that's worth mentioning. Oh, yeah. The Ion Storm from the episode The Mutant, a season 1 Outer Limits episode, where it showed a beam shining through a container of glitter, that later became the transporter effect in Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. The transporter effect, that came from the Outer Limits. The black mask from an episode called The Duplicate Man was used by the character Dr. Layton in an episode called The Conscience of the King. Only Barry King will know or care about this. I'm going to get to some more relatable topics here in a sec. The Megazoid from the Duplicate Man episode of Outer Limits and Second Chance was seen briefly in the Star Trek pilot The Cage. It was like a bird creature. Anyway, and that was in the first ever filmed Star Trek episode, which was an unaired pilot called The Cage. They turned into a 2-parter called The Menagerie. And anyway, so I'm going to play a clip of a great Outer Limits episode that I really love, starring David McCallum, called The Sixth Finger. And in this episode, this is a coal miner in a European nondescript fictional country who was hired by a scientist played by Edward Mulhare, who became the boss later in the 80s in Knight Rider, British actor. And he was in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir as well. And so he hires this guy, this lowly coal miner, to be experimented on. And it's an experiment in evolution. This scientist has a machine that will advance man in time. And this guy winds up wanting to go all the way into the future, and he develops a sixth finger. Let me see if I have a clip of it. I thought I pulled a clip. But there was a beautiful actress who played his love interest in that episode. and she was just really, really cute. Jill Haworth, I think. Jill Haworth, who also was in 12 O'Clock High and some other episodes. Let me see if I can find that clip. Yeah, here are some scenes from The Sixth Finger. This is when the guy's going to be
praying that your experiment may be a blessing and not a curse on mankind. Now you're hoping you may be forgiven for what you did only a few years ago. It's this sense of guilt that's made you bury yourself down here.
How do you know that?
Your heightened forehead indicates more currents in your neuronic synapses required for greater intelligence and telepathic function. Your eyes have developed a wider field of vision and a power of charged concentration.
Afraid you maybe gave power to the wrong man.
What makes you say that?
You should have realized by now, Professor Mathers, that I can read your mind. I no longer have any need for sleep.
I love that line. I no longer have the need for sleep. And so he's self-mutating. And so, like, he gets these pointed ears that they use later in Star Trek, by the way. And it's a really good morality play. And he wants to read all these books. He's like, give me books. Fetch me books. I want to learn everything there is to know.
It's really quite simple. You released the mechanism of evolution, which is a self-generating force. It is now mutating under its own impetus. I am now where man will be approximately 1 million years from today.
Why are you laughing?
I am laughing at what is in your mind, Professor. You think that I've become a monster. Need I remind you that everything is relative? For me, you look as monstrous as the missing link.
Okay. And in the end, all right, his girlfriend, Kathy, that I described, played by Jill Haworth, I think that's how you pronounce her name. He goes, put me in the chamber. I want to go all the way into the future. He goes, go forward, not back. Back is into the past. And so, here, let me just play a clip of that, and then I'll move on to something else. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the outer limits. Let me see if I can find that clip. Here we go.
That's into the past.
I love that music.
This
Dominic Frontier. Here we go.
To the word forward. All the way. Do you understand? Not backward. That's into the past. That operates the door.
Open the door.
Open the door.
She's beautiful. Wish you could see this. If you haven't seen this episode, she was beautiful there. He's stepping into the chamber. She has plans. She's going to send him back to the way he was as a normal human being.
Now must I break the last barrier between the flesh and the spirit.
Really good love story.
Goodbye, Kathy.
Goodbye, Kathy. So the door shuts, and I like how she says, I can't let you go. Let me play that. I just love it. I'm a softie. I love this scene. The Sixth Finger. It's awesome. The Outer Limits. This is the climax of that episode. He's in the chamber, and he looks really freaky. The makeup is awesome for back then. It's ahead of its time.
Can't let you go.
Right there. Admittedly, it looks a little cheap. You know, the set. But it's worth it. It's still a beautifully written story. Anyway, the payoff is he emerges, and at first she turns him back too far into a primate. And then she gets it just right. And you don't know if it's going to work or not. The door opens up and he's covering his face, and it's well lit in the shadows. But sure enough, he's a human being again, but you don't know if he can talk. And so her final line is the scientist comes in. What the hell's going on here? She goes, he's back, and he's glad. I know because he touched me. I don't know. It was well played. It was well played. And there was another good love story on The Outer Limits season 1 called The Man Who Was Never Born, which starred Martin Landau as a grotesque, not really a monster, but he's a product of the future. It's kind of like Planet of the Apes, where Earth blew itself up with a nuclear bomb. And so Martin Landau is a child. Was an adult in the story, but he is a product of a nuclear holocaust. And so he goes back in time to try to assassinate the child of the scientist that caused it to happen. So anyway, he meets a character played by actress Shirley Knight, who is deceased, who's an Oscar winner and stuff. She was in As Good as It Gets and stuff. But that's another good love story in The Outer Limits. But they were just very well written. Now, there was a lawsuit that Harlan Ellison, that author I talked about, filed. And he contended the inspiration for James Cameron's movie The Terminator from 1984, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, came in part from Ellison's script on The Outer Limits called The Soldier. That was the title of his story, Soldier, for season 2. And James Cameron conceded the influence, and Ellison was awarded money and an end credits mention in The Terminator. I did not know that. I knew about the lawsuit, but I didn't know that it panned out for Harlan Ellison, where James Cameron, Canadian director extraordinaire, box office champion, he admitted it. He says, yes, I admit it. Okay, The Terminator was taken from the Outer Limits script you wrote, Soldier, starring Michael Ansara. Oh, geez, right when I'm on a roll. I guess I'll take the call. Plug time. The Nostalgic PodBlast, you're on the air. Is this Barry?
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Or rather, your telephone, your iPhone.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing? You've got a lot of good stuff going on tonight, especially with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and The Outer Limits.
Yes, sir.
Shows that I actually kind of pull out and still watch to this day at 55.
Well, good. Are you mad at me? Because I was not complaining, but I was making jokes about Shatner's performance in Outer Limits. You're such a fan of his. Good. I hope I didn't.
No, I just happen to disagree. I don't know if everyone panned his performance in Cold Hands, Warm Heart. I thought it was great. I thought he did just as good job at it as he did.
Really?
On board the airplane, because he's kind of screaming in terror in both episodes and something, and I thought it was crazy. So I don't share people's opinion that it was a bad performance. Maybe it's because I saw it when I was younger and I was still affected by it and liked it. But there are three Outer Limits episodes that still stand out to me, and it was only, I don't know, one of them isn't one of the more popular episodes, but a lot of things affect you when you're younger, and I'm sure you watched The Outer Limits when you were younger, probably just like I did for the first time on television.
On WXIA 11 Alive in Atlanta, correct. And then on TNT in the 90s, they have weekend marathons. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and Saturday night they would show it back to back to Star Trek, Outer Limits and The Outer Limits and Star Trek on Channel 11. I think after Saturday Night Live was off, and then they'd show that or something like that. I remember something like that. But the first Outer Limits I ever saw, Chance, was the first episode. I saw the galaxy being. That was the first episode I saw.
And that's where a monster comes through a radio transmission from another dimension.
Yeah, because the guy working at the radio station, he was told, kind of a new guy or whatever, and he was told not to turn the power of the station up past a certain mark, and he turns it up because he wants to get a signal way out there, because he's a groovy DJ and everything, and winds up sucking this other creature through the signal that's kind of hooked up that I think Cliff Robinson's been talking to or something, and pulls him into Earth via that radio transmission, and he becomes a kind of a creature that's giving off radiation. And I thought it was terrifying, and the neon negative way they shot the creature was pretty spooky too, if you remember.
Oh yes.
It was a great episode. The other one that the other episode that stood out for me on The Outer Limits was iRobot with Leonard Nimoy. Was obviously a great episode that everyone remembers.
That they made a movie out of, starring Will Smith, iRobot.
Yeah, it's based on a book, I think, by Asimov anyway, right? Is that right?
Right.
I think it's an Isaac Asimov book. And then, they remade it for the Outer Limits later television series, the second series that they did, which I actually thought was pretty good.
The Tin Man! Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the new Twilight Zone show on CBS was pretty good back in the 90s, the late 80s
I did too, and it was the precursor to Star Trek, as I said earlier. The Outer Limits was.
Yeah, and that was a good episode. Another episode I love was the girl that came. I think she was the queen bee from the hive. Was it called?
Yeah, a bunch of Z's, zzz, like a bee.
Yeah, that one really. I really liked that one when I saw that one. She's really attractive too. They picked a very beautiful actress to play the queen bee turned into a human to make contact with the human being. I thought that was a great episode too.
It was.
And the other one that people don't seem to remember, and I can't remember what season this one was in. Cry of Silence. Eddie Albert. The Cry of Silence.
Oh, that was bad with the tumbleweeds.
Right, but it was creepy though. When I watched as a kid, it stuck with me because they're driving out west and they have car trouble. Him and his wife or something. They come up and these tumbleweed creatures have an energy of some kind. I can't remember if I haven't seen it in a lot of they were aliens or whatever, but they
were
this old man in a shack, and found out by the end of the episode he was like dead, and they were just animating his body or something like that. Is that right?
That's right, and that was right before Green Acres started. That was a season before, about a year before Green Acres started. By the way,
it was so creepy. I found that so creepy as a kid watching that. I saw a lot of the other episodes too, but I think that may have been the first 4 that I saw of the show, and that's why they stand out to me so much and stay with me so long.
Well, let me ask you this: would you agree that season 1's better than season 2 of The Outer Limits?
Oh yeah, season 1 is the best season of The Outer Limits, and season 1 is the best episode of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, in my opinion, the black and white season. And
the best
season 1 of Lost in Space is the best season of Lost in Space.
Definitely.
As well, but Irwin Allen tended to take his shows in another direction, and I don't know whether it was him or was more television producers telling him, "Listen, hey, this show is for kids. You need to kid it up with monsters and rubber suits and stuff like that," because that's kind of how those shows progressed.
Well,
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea did it, and Lost in Space did it.
They dumbed it down, made it kiddie. They did, and it wasn't because of a time slot change. In fact, Irwin Allen, according to June Lockhart, put out an internal memo. They can't kiss anymore. It embarrasses the children. Don't have the parents kiss anymore. They were kissing and affectionate from the pilot and into season 1, and then they took that element away of family.
According to Jonathan Harris, Irwin Allen was a very strange man.
Lost in Space. Now here's the 20th anniversary of Lost in Space.
He said he was a totally humorless man.
Humorless. And I'm going to play a clip from yesterday of Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy promoting a brand new book that just dropped today. And I'll play that in just a little bit.
There's a great clip of Jonathan Harris being interviewed and telling the story of when he met Irwin Allen and was auditioning for the part of Dr. Smith. And wow, if Irwin Allen was the way he discussed, he was a pretty interesting and eccentric man for sure.
He called him a strange man, as you did. He goes, "Very strange man."
He was a strange
Jonathan was strange himself in a good way. I mean, he was born in like the Bronx, New York, yet he had a pseudo-British accent that he used.
Yeah, a lot of those actors did that. There's another, the guy who played Dr. Shrinker, Jay Robinson.
Jay Robinson, yes.
Jay Robinson. At times I would think that he was English too, but he had that very proper way of speaking like Jonathan Harris, but I don't think he was British at all.
No, and he was in Star Trek Elan of Troyes, which was the second episode filmed for season 3 of Star Trek. He got stabbed in the back by Elan, played by France Nien, who had worked in the world of Susie Wong with Shatner on stage before that Star Trek was filmed. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, he was Ambassador Petrie in that episode. Yeah, you can tell as soon as he opened his mouth that he's Jay Robinson, because he also played an episode of The Witch, and he played Matt Dewey, Dr. Shrinker, the way he would talk. But he was very. He had an episode. This is in Planet of the Slave Women or something with Buzz Aldrin.
Having trouble hearing you. You're a little muffled there. You were great, and now you're a little muffled.
Oh, sorry.
There, now you're good. You're good.
Jay Robinson was also an episode of Buck Rogers as well. Buck Rogers in the 25th century is a
Dr. Shrinker, Dr. Shrinker, he's a madman with an evil mind. And Billy Barty was his assistant in that show, Sid and Marty Krofft, Saturday morning TV.
Yeah, one of the rare times that I jumped ship off CBS and Filmation to go over to watch something on ABC growing up. I was mostly on CBS.
It was a ripoff of Land of the Giants, going full circle, talking about Irwin Allen, an Irwin Allen show.
Well, the Voyages of the Sea was always my favorite show of Irwin Allen. I don't know why I gravitated toward that one. I just thought it was a little more exciting and very adventurous. And Irwin Allen always liked to go to a commercial break from his first or second act with this just big cliffhanger, and everything would freeze like you think they were about to die, and the music would just go off the charts, and it would click to the animated sequence that your guest that you had on. He animated that little title sequence of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea of the little periscope.
The guy that drew that has been on the Nostalgic PodBlast recently. James Tim Walker drew that sonar effect.
That's what I just said, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't hear you.
It was great.
Okay.
It was a great opening, and it would open with that after the cliffhanger. You thought they were going to die. Now the show's coming on, and it was just exciting.
They changed that for season 4 of Voyage. They didn't do that until season 4. That was like the opening of season 4. Anyway. Yeah.
But it was still cool. Even in all the season openings, the way they'd open, it would open on whether you thought they were going to die or not. When they were coming on, I was like, what's going on?
And when the submarine Seaview would be rocked, and people are flying to the left, to the right, there was a guy off camera hitting a bucket. Ding, ding, left. Ding, ding, right. And that's according to a documentary I watched. It's absolutely true according to people that worked on the show. It was just some crewman hitting a bucket with a spoon. Ding, ding.
Oh, well, I don't even think they had that luxury on Star Trek when the bridge would get hit. Maybe somebody was just yelling to them off stage, or they just had to watch the camera. I don't know.
Why didn't they have seatbelts on the Enterprise? You know, they needed seatbelts.
They did the same thing on Star Trek. Yeah.
Well, listen,
what's that?
I was going to say, I want to stay with Outer Limits just for another minute or two after this call and with you, but I want to jump ahead to Mork and Mindy, which celebrated its anniversary this week. It debuted September 14th in 1978, and I know you like that show. Do you have any quick stories about Mork and Mindy? Or do you want to stay with Outer Limits?
Stories, just watched it as a kid. Mork and Mindy, for some reason, is one of those shows now that I compare to the Dukes of Hazzard and maybe a couple of other shows, because I tried to watch Mork and Mindy not too long ago again, and I'm like, it doesn't quite. For me, it didn't hold up as well, and I found myself kind of flipping off after watching it for a few minutes and just turning it to something else. Because I know it was a Gary Marshall kind of show, kind of like Happy Days. It came from Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, and you got Mork and Mindy, but I don't find Mork, and nothing wrong with it. It's just I find it less rewatchable now. Not totally unrewatchable, but it's kind of I can't find myself rewatching it now as much as I did when I was younger.
David Letterman was in Mork and Mindy briefly after he was in the Mary Tyler Moore variety show and other things like his daytime talk show. Do you have any memories of Norm Macdonald that you'd like to share?
And William Shatner was on Mork and Mindy too.
Yeah.
Quick moment.
That's right. That's right. Do you have any memories of Norm Macdonald? Were you a fan of his? Huh?
His acting was fine in Mork and Mindy. It was fine. I did hear about Norm Macdonald passing away, and I was very sad. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I knew of him, and I knew he did the weekend updates and stuff on Saturday Night Live. But outside of Saturday Night Live, I didn't know much about him, I'm sorry to say.
Well, I loved him. I thought he was great, and he had a battle with cancer for 9 years that he successfully kept from the public. So God bless him and his family. It's a terrible loss.
Wow, kind of like Chadwick Boseman. Cancer comes up and creeps up and just grabs his folks. It's terrible.
Colon cancer. And I met him on the set of 42 where he played Jackie Robinson in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And, of course, he was in the Black Panther. He was the star of the Black Panther. God bless him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, okay.
In some ways, you talk about the Outer Limits. It's, for me, in some ways, I'm not saying maybe it's not necessarily a better show. They were very different. I thought those other Outer Limits is just like the Twilight Zone. No, it wasn't. They were two very different shows. They were anthology series where, it was an omnibus type thing where it's a different story every time, but usually a twist at the end. But they were both very, very different.
Barry? There you are. You're back. You went silent for a while. Can you repeat that last sentence?
Well, that's the rigors of going through what I'm going through. I'm going to fade in and out here. I'm sorry about that on the call.
Hey, call back if you want. I'm going to cover some other stuff, and then I'm going to play a best of for about an hour and 15 minutes. That I'll explain later why I'm playing that, but I'm going to cut in with some live commentary. It was an episode that Tom Williams deleted the video of without asking Alarai, and I don't remember what we talked about, but I'm going to play some of it later. Hello? I guess he's gone. Barry King, BK on the air. Thanks for calling. Hope you call back when you're in a better space for cell coverage. You can hear his show live, 10 a.m. to noon on WBHFradio.org, where you can stream it, or you can hear it on fistfulofradio.com that I run now, thanks to a nice gentleman named Stefan. And you can hear him at 8:30 in the morning on fistfulofradio.com, and also at 6 p.m. on fistfulofradio.com Saturday and Sunday on both those times, and then Friday afternoon at 1, as well as Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. And all times are on fistfulofradio.com. On the main page, you'll see a schedule, so you can see exactly when our shows will air. And I'm on there too, the Nostalgic PodBlast. But I'm going to wrap with the Outer Limits here because I got so much to cover and it's late. Geez. But the lawsuit I was talking about that Harlan Ellison filed, okay, I covered that. And so after James Cameron admitted that The Terminator was based on the Outer Limits script Harlan Ellison wrote, Soldier, for season 2 of Outer Limits, Cameron was against Orion Pictures' decision and was told if he did not agree with the settlement, they would have James Cameron pay for any damages if Orion lost Ellison's suit. And James Cameron replied that he, quote, had no choice but to agree with the settlement. There was a gag order as well, unquote. Now, there was a 2-part episode of The Outer Limits, the only 2-parter they ever produced in season 2, called The Inheritors. And that starred Robert Duvall and also a child actress named Suzanne Coupeau. And when Suzanne grew up, she changed her name to Morgan Brittany, whom many of you may remember in the 1980s on Dallas. Morgan Brittany, she was a very attractive brunette, but her real name is Suzanne Coupeau, and she was on that Outer Limits 2-parter. And as I said earlier, season 1 was far better than season 2 due to the severe budget cuts. Change at the helm, Ben Brady replaced Joseph Stefano that I talked about previously. And then, as I said, the music was changed from the excellent composer Dominique Frontier to Joseph Rubin. And during season 2 of Outer Limits, Dominique Frontier went to score 12 O'Clock High, which had just started on the same network, ABC, in 1964. So the music was changed and the tone of the show shifted a bit. I want to compare the themes. I've already played the season 1 theme of The Outer Limits, but I want to play... Well, before that, I'm always jumping all over the place. I do have this queued up. I want to go here, and then I'll play the season 2 music so you can compare season 1 versus season 2, and then we'll move on to another topic. But there was a spin-off attempt that I talked about previously. And also, there is another Nostalgic PodBlast devoted to Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits that you can find in our YouTube channel, The Nostalgic PodBlast, that I did with Al and Tom. And we had a lot of clips, a lot of discussion about both shows. So that's why I'm sort of skipping around here. I'm trying to come up with some material that I didn't cover back then. But this spinoff, it was called The Unknown. And this is a really cool opening that I think is better than the Outer Limits opening. Different narrator, different tone. And David McCallum starred in it, as did Vera Miles, who was in the movie Psycho. And she was in the very first episode and pilot of The Fugitive, Fear in a Desert City, and a bunch of other stuff. And Barbara Rush was in it as well. But here's the original opening. And what happened was the suits at ABC passed on The Unknown, in part because they went with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. But it would have been a really cool show. So what they did was they edited it as an episode of Outer Limits. And I think they aired it last. It wasn't the last produced, but they aired it last. They did. The last episode that aired of season 1 of Outer Limits was called The Form of Things Unknown. And you'll hear some of the music that Dominique Frontier scored. This is original then that became the theme of The Invaders. I know The Invaders isn't widely known. I'm probably appealing to maybe 2% of people listening who may be listening right now. But I love The Invaders. It's running on MeTV, I think at 5 a.m. Great time slot. 5 a.m. Saturday into Sunday, actually Sunday morning technically. But the theme from The Invaders was from this. And listen to this spooky narration.
There is a fear that is unlike all other fears. It has a special, clammy chill. inspiring deeper, darker dread. It is the fear of unopened doors, of locked rooms, of bends in lonely roads. It is the fear of the phone call in the dead of the night, of the stranger you recognize, perhaps from a nightmare. It is the fear of the unexpected, the unfamiliar. It is the fear of the unknown.
Here's the end credits.
Murder, madness, and other lurking horrors are the raw certainties that await you in the depths of the unknown. And no switch of time, no twist of plan can cancel your meeting with it. For some night, in some blind panic, you will venture into the world of dark reality. And on that night, you will keep your rendezvous with the unknown.
And you hear that. That's a rip effect on the screen if you could see this, and it's on YouTube. Look up The Unknown if you want to watch this, and it's really cool. Like, it shows these bloody handprints and like zombie-esque. Like, it really had a great opening. I love the audio from it. That's from a 16mm film print of the unaired pilot version, The Unknown. And that would have been a great show, and it's too bad that the network passed on that. Now, I want to play a lot of silly theme songs. You know why I don't play real music? Like on radio shows, you can play up to 30 seconds of a song as a sample and get away with it. But on the internet, you can't even play 5 seconds of some songs without getting in trouble. And I stream this live on Facebook in the Nostalgic PodBlast Facebook group. So I have to be careful, but you know, I pre-screen and pre-approve most of my clips, and TV themes for now are okay. So that's why I feature so many, in case you were wondering. But I want to play, I played this already, but I want to play a little bit of The Outer Limits. I didn't play this yet, I don't think. This is the end titles of The Outer Limits by Dominique Frontier. By Dominique Frontier. I want to play the end title theme, and then of season 1 versus season 2 by Ruben, which is not nearly as good, but it's interesting. So here's season 1 by Dominique Frontier. Let's compare the different themes of The Outer Limits, the two versions. music's awesome. That's the season 1 version. Now, for season 2, I typically don't do this. I pride myself on playing the original versions of theme songs because a lot of radio people throughout, as far back as I can remember, would not play the original versions, and that's not their fault. It's because starting in 1985, MTV released an album called TV's Greatest Hits, and back then they didn't have access to the original 35 millimeter negatives for a clean audio sampling of the original version of TV theme songs, so they hired musicians to reorchestrate them. So this version of the season 2 theme of The Outer Limits is in stereo, but it's not the original version. But I want to play it because it sounds really good, but I want to acknowledge, as I just did, that it's not the original version. This is by Joseph Rubin, Rubin, and here's his take on the theme to The Outer Limits, which is completely different. Here it goes. From TV's Greatest Hits, Volume 2, 1987. The control voice will take you to The Outer Limits. Vic Perrin is the control voice. So that version wasn't bad, but I like the original version a lot better. Now, we're going to talk about non-space and science fiction stuff next, but we talked earlier about the anniversary with Barry King when he called in of Mork and Mindy, and this is really brief. I just want to acknowledge it. I'm not even going to play a clip. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on Mork and Mindy. As Barry said, it was a spinoff of Happy Days. There were a couple episodes where Mork visited a sleeping Richie Cunningham who had a dream about an alien. He had a helmet at first. And by the way, that helmet was from The Outer Limits. Did you know that? From Soldier. See how this all comes together? Just want to say, I'm going to put before the camera, anyone watching on video, a cover of Dynamite magazine of Pam Dauber and Robin Williams. But Mork and Mindy, of course, was an American sitcom television series that aired on ABC from September 14th, 1978 to May 27th, 1982. So it just had an anniversary. That's why I'm mentioning it. As I said, it was a spinoff of the highly successful Happy Days. Starred Robin Williams as Mork, an extraterrestrial who comes to Earth from the planet Ork, and Pam Dauber as Mindy McConnell, his human friend and roommate, who eventually becomes his wife and mother of his child. And of course, remember his son? His son was born old. Oh, man, that was awesome when Jonathan Winters, one of Robin Williams' comedy mentors, played his son. And they aged backwards. Maybe that was the Ben Button inspiration, the movie with Brad Pitt. I don't know. But it was good. And I remember they had a two-part cliffhanger before it got canceled in 82, and ABC aired it out of order. It was supposed to end. There was actually like a finale, and it was going to be kind of a cliffhanger. And then the last episode that aired had nothing to do with that story. The network screwed up. I hate it when they air things out of order which goes against the wishes of the show's producers. But anyway, let's see, Mork and Mindy. It climbed in season 1 to the rank of number 3 in the ratings with a 28.6 share. That was the high. It never made number 1. That was in season 1. And then it sank to 27 for season 2, 49th, season 3, and then 60th place in season 4. And it was canceled. So that's my tribute to Mork and Mindy. Now, moving on, I want to ask you if you remember this person. Lisa Whelchel. Well, she broke some news on her Instagram account that I am going to share with you. This is kind of cool, but I loved Lisa Whelchel growing up. And for those that don't know, if that name doesn't ring any bells, maybe this music will. Let me see here. Yeah, let me get this clip for you. And I'm going to put a visual aid up for those watching on YouTube or Facebook, but here we go. Let me play this for you. Here we go. This one to cue you.
There's a place you gotta go for learning all you ought to know about the facts of life. The facts of life.
When your books are what you're there about, but looks are what you care about.
The time is right to learn the facts of life. When the world never seems to be living up to your dreams, it's time you started finding out what everything is all about. When the boys you used to hate you date,
I guess you best investigate
the facts of life. Gotta get 'em right. The facts of life. The facts of life. When the boys you used to hate you date,
I guess you best investigate the facts
Annoying.
of life. The facts of life. If you hear 'em from your brother, better clear 'em with your mother.
Gotta get 'em right. The facts of life. When the world never seems to be living up to your dreams, it's time you started finding out the facts of life are all about you.
That was the series. Sony logo. Thank you, Sony.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take 'em both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. There's a time you gotta go and show you grow, and now you know about the facts of life. The facts of life. When the world never seems to be living up to your dreams, and suddenly you're finding out the facts of life are all about you. It takes a lot to get 'em right when you're learning the facts of life. Learning the facts of life.
All right, enough of that. I know a lot of people are like, they might be tuning into fistfulradio.com like, what the hell is this crap? What are you playing? There's a reason I played that. And yes, I know I sound like a sissy, but I don't care. That's the facts of life. And Lisa Whelchel played the character of Blair Warner, who came from a very wealthy family. And were you on team Joe or Blair? Joe came from a working class family, and she was played by Nancy McKeon. And unfortunately, her older brother Philip passed away, who was Tommy on the hit sitcom Alice, which lasted 9 seasons on CBS. But The Facts of Life was a spinoff of Different Strokes, and it was about a privileged private school for girls which Kimberly Drummond from the Different Strokes attended, that Mrs. Garrett, the housekeeper in season 1 of Different Strokes, left to work at. And she worked for Mr. Drummond, of course, in the first season, first couple of years of Different Strokes. The initial Different Strokes episode titled The Girls' School, which was the season 1 finale of Different Strokes, aired on NBC on Friday, May 4th, 1979. In that episode, Lisa Whelchel portrayed the character of Blair Warner as a bad girl at first. She smoked cigarettes in that episode. And in season 1, she had overnight dates with guys, and she even smoked marijuana. Before they toned down her character in season 2, the whole show was retooled. But Facts of Life debuted as its own sitcom on Friday, August 24th, 1979, at 8:30 p.m., a week before the season 2 premiere of Different Strokes. And it ran for 9 seasons, ending its new episode run on May 7th, 1988, producing a whopping 209 all-new episodes. Well, Lisa Whelchel announced on her Instagram account that her show, Collector's Call, was renewed for a 3rd season by MeTV, the national digital network, with new episodes beginning to air in January 2022. And I like this show a lot. It features some of the best collections in the entire world, including a James Bond collector in the United States of America who owns a submarine, a helicopter, and multiple cars seen in the 007 films. She also featured Jim Hambrick, who founded and was the head of the Superman Museum in Metropolis, Illinois. I know Barry King has been there. He did a live show from Metropolis, Illinois at the Superman Museum. I've never been there, always wanted to go. And by the way, Jim Hambrick has turned his museum over to his daughter, And so Lisa features that and many more fascinating collectors and collections, toys, comic books, etc. Well, let's listen to Lisa in her own words talking about her show, Collector's Call, which airs on MeTV typically Sunday nights. I don't know if that will be the case for season 3, but it would air on Sunday night. So here's Lisa Whelchel in her own words talking about it.
All right, well, we
On
watched
KTLA.
her grow up on the facts of life, survive Survivor, and now she's taking on a new challenge, that is hosting. Here to talk about her new show called Collector's Call, please welcome Lisa Whelchel.
Hello there.
Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Before we talk Collector's Call,
Okay.
so this year will mark the 40th anniversary?
Yes.
Wow.
40th anniversary that it premiered.
That means 40 years ago I had a crush on you.
Oh. And I said to you when you sat down, you look so good. You look the same.
Well, thank you. And it's all about the genes, and it's not the mom genes.
Right.
Well, actually, it is about my mom's genes.
Would you ever be open to a reboot?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I had
Do you
a great
stay in
time.
touch with the girls?
we get that out
We
there?
do. We hang out whenever we're in the same city, and we talk on the phone. And now Nancy McKeon finally joined social media after forever staying off. So now we are able to. I mean, just like everybody else, there's you kind of keep in touch with each other that way the most easily.
Awesome. All right, well, now let's chat a little Collector's Call.
Okay.
This is a show where you introduce viewers to collectors who have the biggest pop culture memorabilia.
You know what? A lot of pop culture, but there's also like last week's show was a man who had presidential history, and so he like had locks of hair from George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, John Kennedy. I know. He also had like a mold from Tom Cruise from the vampire movie. So very eclectic collection.
And you assign a value to these objects?
Well, we do bring an appraiser who does, give the value, but they also, the twist is they bring an item that's been on the collector's kind of wish list, and then they have to make a trade. And it's really interesting to see because every single one of these items, no matter how many they have, and like this next week, Sunday night show is a Winnie the Pooh collection where she has the Guinness Book of World Records. She bought the house next door because she outgrew her two-story house with Winnie the Pooh.
goodness.
So yes, so she has a whole house of poo next door.
So are all these items, do they all have a known value to them, or are these items vetted before?
Yes, absolutely. And I learned the new word. It's the provenance. So
Gotcha.
they can verify that this was actually George Washington's hair. Don't know how they can do that, but apparently they do.
Wow, did it come with a little curl?
Yeah, no. Maybe that's why they wore wigs back then.
Right.
Cutting off their hair.
I believe we have a clip. Let's take a look.
What makes it so rare?
When this came out, it retailed for about $15 in 1938 and 1939. So not many people were willing to pay $15 back at the edge of World War II and right after the Great Depression.
So JP, have you ever seen one of these?
I have not. The one thing I'm noticing is the tag is on it. When you have the doll itself being so unique and so rare, and then having the tag that go with it, that shoots it in the stratosphere.
Where in the
Wow.
stratosphere would
Wow.
you land on a number for this?
Oh my. I would say a collector with their money would pay about 40 to 60 grand for it.
Wow. 40 to 60 grand.
That's great.
Yeah, so many unique items. And I don't know where these collectors, it's a full-time job. I mean, they are on the internet, and before that, they've got their community. And so the items that they have, and that's part of the reason why it's difficult for them to make the trade, because everything has a story. Every collector, as we drill down into it, I'm a life coach now, and so what I'm mostly enjoying is interviewing the collectors and finding out who does this and why. And it's usually tied back to their childhood, something. And so every piece it taps into that little spot in their heart, and so it's hard to let go.
That's cool. Wow. Lisa Whelchel, thank you so much for
My
coming
pleasure.
in.
This is fun.
Don't forget, Collector's Call airs Sunday nights, 10 p.m. on MeTV.
On MeTV.
That's right. And I wanted to mention, I played a very long clip of two versions of the theme to The Facts of Life. The first one was sung by Charlotte Rae, who was the star as Mrs. Garrett. She sang the first season version. The second season, by the way, who wrote the lyrics was Robin Thicke. And then in the second version I played, his wife at the time, Gloria Loring, sang that. Let's see. And Robin Thicke, who of course starred as the dad of the Seaver family in, was it Growing Pains? He got his start in Hollywood, hosting some TV game shows in the 70s, but he wrote the themes for some of them as well, including the original theme to Wheel of Fortune. That was Robin Thicke Sr., not Jr. Sr., unfortunately, is deceased. And eventually, Robin Thicke added theme songs for scripted series to his resume as well. And his first wife, singer and actress Gloria Loring, were quite the powerful theme songwriting team. The duo, along with Al Burton, co-wrote the Facts of Life theme song, which Loring sang in season 2. It was Charlotte Rae in season 1. The team also created the Different Strokes theme song together before that. And fun fact, one of the voices behind It Takes Different Strokes is Alan Thicke's. Okay, I guess in the background. So anyway, enough about that. I do want to play one other quick clip of Lisa Whelchel. By the way, did you know she has little specks of gold in her eyes? And I met her, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I sound like a stalker. No, I'm not. She's happily married, a well-grounded lady, would want nothing to do with me. I'm just a fan, but she has little specks of gold in her eyes, and it's true. And she also had an album that she recorded. I'll play a little sample of that back in like 1984. But let's see. Here's another quick clip of Lisa talking about her current show, Collector's Call. And she was on Survivor also.
Autographs or movie set props, there are so many ways people can treasure pop culture. The MeTV original series Collector's Call is back for season 2 with twice as many episodes. Show Lisa Whelchel joins me now with some details on the show. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, I understand you guys have a lot of celebrities on this season, starting with an Olympian, I guess, this Sunday, correct?
That's right, Scott Hamilton.
That's pretty awesome. What have you learned about some of these people based on what they're collecting?
Well, you can learn a lot about somebody with their collection. Mostly you can learn about their childhood, and that's what we're learning about collections is 9.5 out of 10 times it has something to do with their childhood, whether it's trying to hold on to a relationship or a memory or a moment or just a season in time that was special. It's just holding on to something, a memory, which what makes it perfect for MeTV, which stands for Memorable Entertainment Television. I think it's why MeTV and stations like that are so popular, and those shows that we grew up when, we're still wanting to watch them today.
Yeah, speaking of shows we grew up with, you spent years obviously playing Blair from the Facts of Life, and you've got a special kind of Facts of Life episode for Collector's Call too, I understand.
Yeah, it was very special to me. We did a show highlighting Charlotte Rae's memorabilia. She passed in 2016, and her son Larry called us girls saying he was going through some of her things and he had some duplicates and would we be interested? And of course we were. And then I was interested as I heard more about what he was finding. I thought, wow, I think the viewers would love to see her memorabilia and her collections. And so it's a fabulous episode because not only do we see what she'd collected over the years, but I learned more about her filming that episode than I learned working with her for 10 years and knowing her for 40 years, because this was all of her her work from the years prior to Facts of Life. And she has an entire body of work from Broadway to recording to, she was Molly the Mail Lady on Sesame Street, and so having the Mail Lady hat. So we learn so much by people's collections and by things that they have held on to that were meaningful. And so it really does give us insight to the person. So to be able to have insight into Charlotte Rae made it a very special episode for me, and I think for the viewers as well.
Well, speaking of music, you recorded some music in the 70s with the Mickey Mouse Club, your own album in the 80s. Have you ever found someone have your album in their collection?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that is kind of fun. I've been in the business since I was 12, so many times I do visit these homes of collectors, and you know, I take it, I choose to take it as a compliment that I'm considered retro and vintage, and this something that I've done is now a collectible.
That's pretty awesome. Are you collecting anything yourself, or have you collected anything yourself, anything from your past show, from Facts of Life?
I wish I had had the forethought to do that. I didn't. My aunt owned an antique store as I was growing up, so every time we traveled together, and I always traveled with my aunt, my grandmother, and my mom, and so she was always collecting things. And thankfully, my grandmother did keep a lot of things, especially from Mickey Mouse Club, because she was my guardian on that show. But I didn't think to keep anything from Facts of Life, and I wish that I had, because it's in my genes, but apparently it just bypassed me.
Well, good thing that those episodes you can still catch them on TV, so that's fun too. Tell us a little bit about some of the rare things that you guys see this season.
Yeah, there's lots of incredible things. For one thing, we do have a show, a man who collects. He had to have buy an airplane hangar because he collects vehicles from James Bond's movies. So he has a submarine from the show. He has a helicopter from the show. Of course, the fancy cars. But he also has like a tank from the show, torpedoes. So that's pretty odd collection right there. I mean, certainly we have Barbie collector and Lego collectors, and those are interesting. We did have a collector who collected hair, locks of presidential hair.
Wow.
Some creepy, but you gotta have the creepy. I think that makes it fascinating. Beatles collectors, just you name it, somebody's collecting it.
I think the creepier it is, the more interested people always can be about that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you can watch season 2 of Collector's Call Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on our sister station, MeTV. Your local providers can be found there on the screen.
So I'm going to play a little bit of her album from 1984, a song called Good Girl. Oh, you guys are going to think this is the craziest show. It is. But I think I can get around the bots on this. I'm just going to play a little bit. This song's about a girl who's religious and obviously a virgin, and she's struggling with maintaining her good girl image. But just listen to some of these lyrics.
She's in her freshman year, but she still wears a little girl dress. She's turning sweet 16, but her daddy still calls her little princess. Dear daughter, don't run so proud. You know that make us not out loud. The girls all have curved white, so straight. The boys aren't asking for a day. Be a good girl, why be a good girl? Be a good girl, why be a good girl? She is a seesaw, seeing it matters. She is a game of truth and matters. Be a good girl, why be a good girl? Why be a good girl? She's on the outside, ready for admission. She's a love without condition. She got her ear to the phone and her toe in a 17 mag. She's got her nails on hold and her knives in a cellophane glad bag. Her parents look the other way. Doesn't hear a word they say. Step in, she's almost there. I think she's running out of air. Be a good girl, why be a good girl? Be a good girl, why be a good girl? She's a seesaw, seeing it matters. She's a game of truth and ladders. Be a good girl, why be a good girl? Be a good girl, why
I just won't play the solo. And then I'll stop. All right. I guess that's Christian rock for you there, but that was her album called Lisa. I think that's what it was called, was Lisa. Let me look here. Was it Lisa? Wait a minute. Yeah, Lisa Whelchel is the name of the album. But I'm like I said, I met her. I'm going to wrap this up. This sounds like I'm stalking the lady, but I met her on the set of Tyler Perry's A Medea Christmas in McDonough, Georgia in 2013, and she could not have been more kind. She also competed and did well in Survivor Philippines, lasting 39 days and finished as a runner-up. And she was born Wednesday, May 29th, 1963, in Littlefield, Texas. And I think she lives in Nashville now. She recently was remarried. And on the Facts of Life, last thing I'll say is that the writers wanted to have her lose her virginity, even though originally she was a very bad girl in the original season 1 and in the Different Strokes episodes leading up to the spinoff. But then they retooled the character. And by the way, they got rid of a lot of the child actors, like Molly Ringwald was in season 1. Felice, the girl from Zapped, the movie, the brunette who was opposite Scott Baio. Felice, got to look her up. What's her name? Anyway, Felice Thatcher? No, that's not right. Fletcher? Hang on. Felice, I'm going to look this up. Felice, Facts of Life. Facts of Life. Cast. God dang it. I hit Facts of Lice. Like lice you'd have in your hair. What was her name? Felice Schatcher. I can't pronounce it. You know, Felice Felice Schachter. Felice. I don't know how you pronounce it, but anyway, she was cut, and there were a lot of good actors that were cut. Then they brought in Joe. Anyway, enough about this. I probably lost what little audience I had talking about Lisa Whelchel, but I think she's awesome, and I congratulate her, and I will be watching season 3 of Collector's Call on MeTV starting in January 2022. It's going into production now. Item. Oh, before I get to this item, here's an item for you. The last couple shows I talked about a record-breaking sale of a comic book. It sold for $3,600,000. That would be Amazing Fantasy 15, released in May of 1962, which was the first appearance of Spider-Man. There were 4 stories in there, including a story that introduced Spider-Man. It was the first story in that book. Well, I want to read this for you. This is from GoCollect.com, and that's a website where you can plug in any comic book, and it'll show you the online auctions of graded comic books, no matter what the grading company, and show you what things are selling for. I use that as a tool all the time when it comes to buying and selling comic books. But let me read this. Golden's first comic auction, an Amazing Fantasy 15 breaks the record. There was plenty of buzz in the comic auction community this week, with a new comic winning the title of the most expensive comic to sell at auction. There were plenty of results from Hakes Auctions. I work with them. Hakes Auctions, latest offering, and it doesn't matter. Let me move on to just talk about this. New record, the most expensive comic sold. There's a new king in town, folks. If you're following our Instagram, GoCollect.com, you've seen us post about the 9.6 graded Amazing Fantasy 15, which sold by Heritage Auction for a record-breaking $3.6 million on Thursday. Just why did this book command such a price? It's one of only 4 CGC graded 9.6 Amazing Fantasy 15 copies in existence that have been graded. There may be some others in someone's attic or closet or drawer that have not been graded. These are just the ones on record that have been graded by CGC or any grading company, a 9.6 or higher, a perfect 10 being, which I don't think there's ever been a 10. But it beat the record held by Action Comics #1 from 1938, which was the first appearance, or is the first appearance of Superman. So just why did this book command such a high price? It's one of only 4 CGC graded 9.6s in existence and is in near mint condition with pristine white pages. Because what happens is the pages eventually can fade if they're not stored properly in cool conditions with a bag and backing board, or even better, sealed in a hard plastic case by a grading company. The pages can fade to yellow or to brown, and that's because of the agents that were used to color the comic book. They deteriorate the comic over time. There's acids in it that will turn the pages yellow, if not brown, if they're not taken care of. So anyway, that's why, because it had white pages as well as being in pristine condition. That rarity, combined with the fact that it's the first appearance of one of the most iconic comic book characters of all time, is enough to answer any questions of why this sold for so much. The previous record for a sale of Amazing Fantasy 15 was a 9.4 that sold for $795,000 in March of 2020. The previous record for a comic book auction was a sale of a 9.0 Action Comics 1 that sold for $3.2 million in April 2021. Given the short amount of time this book got to rule before Spidey swooped in, how long will Spider-Man wear the crown of the highest sale of any comic book auction of all time. Who do you think will be next? I think it's going to be Spider-Man for a while. So that ties in kind of with Collector's Call. I just wanted to play that or read that for you. God, I'm messed up today. So, item. The new season of Jeopardy began airing this week with ousted, then named permanent host Michael Richards, who was the executive producer of Jeopardy that I've talked about all along. I thought he got a raw deal. I thought that Sony should have at least waited to see how the public would react to his performance as host and also to know how the ratings fared. Well, now it's been announced that Mayim Bialik and Ken Jennings will split duties as the host for the remainder of the season. And I love Jeopardy, but I thought Michael Richards got a raw deal, and apparently he's lawyered up, and it may go to court, you know. Originally, Sony said they had his back. He'll remain as an executive producer of Jeopardy, but then due to public outcry of a minority of people, I think, and some people come out of the woodwork that work with him on Price is Right that said he's not a nice guy. He treated me badly. As a viewer, I don't want anyone to be mistreated or insulted or offended or whatever, but that has nothing to do with performance as a host. I was judging him as a viewer solely on his performance as host, and aside from a lisp, not that there's anything wrong with a lisp, I have a lisp, but he does have a pretty pronounced lisp, I noticed this week. I thought they should have kept him. Since they announced they would keep him on as executive producer, that was a breach of a verbal contract, so I think the lawyers will have fun with that on Michael Richards' side. So anyway, those episodes began airing, and I thought he did a fine job. Item. Programming note, the Nostalgic PodBlast is now on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. Central Time in the Facebook group, The Nostalgic PodBlast, and it's on YouTube later. It's not live on YouTube. It'll be on right after. And I'm doing this during football season because I know a lot of people, including me, will want to watch some games. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So I'm going to move the show. It's usually on at 3:30 Eastern Time, but I'm going to move it to 5 p.m. Last week I had it on at 4:30, and I realized, I think 5 would be a better time to have the show on, and so that's what I'm going to do. So you can turn on the PodBlast while you're preparing supper or dinner or watching your game if you want. I just think it's a better time. So throughout football season, the Nostalgic PodBlast will be on at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. Central and Mountain Time. By the way, I want to give a shout out to James Enstall of Geek to Me Radio. He's on a big KTRS, I believe, or the call letters of a big station in St. Louis. He's on Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock in Central Mountain Time where he's at. And it's a very nice show. And I'm going to talk with him. I want to add him to fistfulofradio.com. My nostalgic expression of the week is, it didn't tickle my fancy. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know what that means, and I don't think I want to know what that means. Another recent TV anniversary. I'm going to play a theme song of a show. This is brief. I'm not going to spend a lot of time like I did with Outer Limits because I don't think it's as good a show, but some younger people in the audience, as Danny Cochran, friend of the show's wife, Carrie, called the people that listen and watch the show, audience members like the Nostalgic PodBlast. The audience is listening. But I want to play for you this theme. And a lot of people like this show. It's not so, I did watch it before Knight Rider. That's a hint of what it is, but let's listen to this theme.
Maybe the world is blind, or just a little unkind.
Oh,
Don't
gosh.
know.
That's all I'm going to play. That's Punky Brewster. Punky Brewster premiered at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, September 16th, 1984 on NBC, and it lasted 88 episodes. The last episode airing Sunday, September 7th, 1986. Soleil Moon Frye starred as Punky. And by the way, the show is back. It's been revived. There's new episodes being produced. And a fun fact about her, a couple of fun facts. Her older brother is an actor named Mino Pelouse, who was in Voyagers. He's been in a ton of TV shows like Best of the West that are not so well known and some that are well known. But her brother got started, then she got on the business as well. Another fun fact, she had breast reduction surgery. That's true. And Mino Pelouse, let me just see. He was born in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, And he just acted in a lot of shows, man, like The Incredible Hulk, all the stuff that Generation Xers watched. He was born February 26, 1970. He's 51 years old as I produce this PodBlast. And that's it. He's just a former child actor, and that's her older brother. So now, I want to promote something, and I'm going to play some music now to tip off the next subject at hand. And here we go. This is by Neil Norman and his Cosmic Orchestra. This is a cover of classic TV themes of a show. And I'm going to play a nice interview conducted just yesterday with these two former child stars. But dig this. That's right. Those are the two themes that John Williams composed for a little show called Lost in Space. Yeah! And two space cases from that show have written a new book, which dropped this past week. And I'm going to play an interview from just yesterday on an popular show in Australia. This is Angela Cartwright and Bill Mumy talking about their new book. And the details will be in this brief clip. Well, it's about 7 minutes long, and I'm going to play the whole thing because I'm giving away every episode ever made of Lost in Space on DVD, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. We're about to get into the pre-recorded piece that I did with Al and Tom that Tom Williams deleted without consulting Al Hardee or myself because he thought we bickered too much, and I don't remember it, so this will be fun. I'm going to cut in, and it's only an hour and 15 minutes long. I think that's going to put everybody to sleep. It's past midnight as I'm live here. But let's listen to Bill Mumy and Angela Cartwright on Australia TV. This is a show called Studio 10. Let's listen.
7 on an uncharted...
Here we go.
Well, the year is 1997 on an uncharted planet, somewhere in the infinite reaches of the universe. An American family is marooned while on a voyage to colonize a new world.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger! Fantastic adventure into the black void beyond the stars. You are watching the unfolding of one of history's great adventures.
I don't think I mentioned on September 15th, 1965, Lost in Space premiered, so it just had a big anniversary. And it last aired September 11th of all days, 1968, which was a rerun. It lasted 3 seasons. And I don't know if that'll be covered. I haven't watched this interview yet. I wanted to listen to it live with you guys in the audience. But let's continue. But happy anniversary to Lost in Space. Here we go.
Warning! Warning! Alien aircraft approaching!
Lost in Space began life in 1965 as a science fiction take on the Swiss Family Robinson and quickly became a cult classic. And it remains a firm favourite to this day. And two of its stars, Bill Mumy, who played Will Robinson, and Angela Cartwright, who played Penny Robinson, join us now. It is so good to see you both. How are you?
Oh, good, Angela. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, go, Bill. Go,
Very
Bill.
nice. Nice to see you. Last time I saw you, you had flown into Los Angeles for like one day, and that was quite a while ago. Are you still jet lagged from that?
Yeah, still catching up. Oh, I can only dream of flying into LA for a day again, and I hope it happens soon. Thinking back to your incredible time on Lost in Space, just remembering how incredible the sets were, or they looked to us, were they that amazing in person for you guys?
For the day, I think that they were pretty amazing. We had an actual sized spaceship on stage 10, I think it was. And yeah, we thought they were pretty cool. Didn't you, Bill?
Yeah, Irwin Allen, our creator and producer, put a lot of money into the initial designs of all his shows. And then once they became successful, then he kind of went on the cheaper side. But the initial designs of Lost in Space, the ship, the robot, the interiors, the chariot, the wardrobe, that all look top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill, you've got an impressive list of credits under your belt, but was this your favourite?
It was, because when I was really little, before I ever, became a real professional actor, I just watched Superman and Zorro on TV, and that's what I wanted to be, was a little superhero on TV. And Will Robinson was basically, a superhero. So it was kind of exactly what I had hoped for. And hey, I'd be Will Robinson again tomorrow if the opportunity presented itself.
Oh, I hear a reboot calling. I hear a reboot calling. Angela, you even had your own pet on the show, Debbie the Bloop. Who was Debbie the Bloop?
Oh, she was my, I was a zoologist of great intelligence. I had a very high IQ. One of my better roles. Yeah, Debbie the Bloop was my pet. And, to make her look like a bloop, they gave her ears. But she has become such a loved character in the animal world. When you go bloop, bloop, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Was she cute to be around?
Sorry?
Was she cute to be around? Was she as cuddly as she looked?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I loved her. We got along great. I mean, I loved having, the chimp. There's a whole thing in our book about Debbie. And we talk about how she was and smelled and what she did, and how she directed the show.
Oh, there's a lot of detail there. Hey, I heard a little rumour. Is it true that June Lockhart, I should say, had the biggest parking space because she drove a fire truck to set?
Well, most every day, June drove a Lincoln Continental to the studio, but she actually did own a vintage fire truck. And on more than one occasion, she actually did drive it to the studio. So it was pretty interesting.
On it too.
Really?
June Lockhart, people think of her as this kind of conservative, really calm, conservative kind of mother on classic TV shows. But trust me, June Lockhart, the June Lockhart that we know, is a real rock and roller.
I love it. Angela, we can't have you here without mentioning that other role that's dominated your life quite a bit, of course, is Brigitte in The Sound of Music. Is it Penny Robinson or Brigitte that fans recognise you from the most?
It's about even. I mean, there are so many fans, especially in Australia. I mean, there's a huge fan base for The Sound of Music. You guys love that movie. But I do get recognized as Brigitte, but also as Penny Robinson, which is just kind of cool. It depends. Were you into sci-fi or were you into musicals,
Yeah, you do cover a lot of fan bases there. Now, because any Tom, Dick or Harry can go into space right now if they want to, thanks to the battling billionaires Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, would either of you like to go?
No, thanks. No, I'm chicken.
I might have been up for that a few decades ago, but I think I'll just watch it from the computer now.
Yeah.
Sounds wise.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, tell us about Lost and Found in Space 2 Blast Off into the Expanded Edition.
Aha. There it is, the Purple Book. You know, we have added over 350 pages. There are over 900 images, like 925 new images, some never before seen, and lots of new stories, lots of secrets and memoirs, and it was so much fun to get together and think of those things.
Well, you know, we figured after all these years, it was time to kind of tell the secrets and tell the behind the scenes stories a little more detailed than we had in the past. So this book definitely gets into that stuff. And, you know, Lost in Space, regardless of it being over a half a century old now, it makes people happy. And that's a good thing, to be a part of something that makes people happy. It's a real good thing.
Well, it's made me happy to talk to both of you today. Lost and Found in Space Blast Off into the Expanded Edition is available now at ncpbooks.com, and you can order autographed copies as well. It's been so lovely to see you both. I hope I get to see you face to face very soon.
Oh,
really nice.
Too.
There you go. So I have their book on the way, deluxe edition, autographed, all that good stuff. And I hope it's not too seedy, like Barry Williams' book about the Brady Bunch he wrote years ago, or Burt Ward's book, My Life in Tights, where he's talking about Adam West's sexcapades and the rockin' trailers and how he just had a revolving door of lady groupie fans that he was having his way with. But, and then just the Barry Williams book really had, but hey, we want to know the truth, right? Inquiring minds want to know. Hey, but I have a little, before we go to the pre-recorded segment, then I'll be back live. I'll be live with you the whole damn time. But before I play the lost episode of the Nostalgic PodBlast, at least lost episode to YouTube and Facebook, I have an update. I have an update to our contest of the night. I have a winner. We have a winner.
Voyage to the bottom of the sea. Starring Richard Basehart, David Hedison, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Congratulations to Scooter Parker. He correctly claimed the set. He followed instructions beautifully and to the letter, and commented claim on the proper post in the Nostalgic PodBlast Facebook group. So the set is yours. I will mail it to you wherever you want. Give me a P.O. box in a private message, or I'll come meet you. You're local to Georgia. I know that. Willing to go grab a beer with you and hand it over personally, whichever you prefer. But it's yours. And also I have another identical set to give away. I have two of these sets sealed in the box, brand new. And Sunday, I'll give another one away. And I think Thursday nights I'm going to start having a game night and give away prizes. I'm thinking about it. What I did last summer was have a Thursday night, what I call the Nostalgic PodBlast Flashback, where I would go over episodes that are not on YouTube or Facebook Live that we didn't do on camera back when Al and I started the show back in June 15th, 2019. And then Al invited Tom to be a part of it. Now they're no longer part of it at all. Listen to this strange version of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. This was the season 2 premiere.
Richard Basehart.
The only time this version of the theme was heard was in this one episode.
David Hedison.
Jonah and the Whale.
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Brought to you by Preparation H. Jonah and the Whale. And they used the sets for Fantastic Voyage, which was produced by Fox at that time. A big blockbuster movie. But now, let's get to the pre-recorded segment of the show. And here we go. Here's the pre-recorded segment. This is the 16th Nostalgic PodBlast that we produced. Let's go back in time. It's an hour and 15 minutes long. And again, Tom Williams deleted without even asking permission. I've said this 3 times now. Still kind of irritates me because he thought that Al and I bickered too much. Anyway, but I haven't heard this one since we did it live back on Sunday, January 12th, 2020. I'll cut in with commentary if I'm provoked because I don't remember what was said, what irritated me, or maybe I irritated them, which is, of course, very possible. By the way, on my YouTube channel, I have 2 YouTube channels, The Nostalgic PodBlast and Chance Acting Demo. I added today a rare Kool-Aid commercial from 1980 from my film collection. It's from a syndicated version of a Flintstones episode, and the great Larry Wax, one of the regular guys, Larry W-A-C-H-S, found an app to transfer film to digital, and he did that for me. I'm grateful, but I just premiered it today. It's a lost Kool-Aid ad. It's kind of neat. But let's go back in time, and I'll do some birthdays afterwards, plus your phone calls if you want to call in. The number's 770-438-1050. Or just make Facebook comments. But congratulations to Scooter Parker. He won the set tonight. And I'll have other prizes that I'm going to give away later. And there's a lot of monsters. These are good episodes. I think Scooter will dig it. So now, without further ado, let's go back in time to the Nostalgic PodBlast, episode 16. And right now, this is episode 76. So this is episode 76/16 of the Nostalgic PodBlast live with you now.
Today's Nostalgic PodBlast was recorded before a live studio audience. Yeah, right.
Welcome to the Nostalgic PodBlast. We're here with a special in-studio guest. This is Mr. Rian Settles. This is a friend of mine that I met in high school. He's an accomplished guitarist. He has an immense guitar collection, and I wanted to talk with him about music because that's a topic that he's very, very familiar with. Hello, Rian Settles. How are you today?
Fantastic. I really appreciate you guys having me. Big fan of the show, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you could make it. I know how busy you are, and man, we go way back. And remember, when we were in high school, we were huge fans of Queen. And this was before Bohemian Rhapsody, and now it's kind of trendy and almost cliche because all you hear are the greatest hit songs. You don't hear the B-side songs anymore. You don't hear the Dragon Attack off the Game album. You don't hear Don't Try Suicide,
The deep
Just
cuts,
Gonna
if you
Hate
will.
It. Yeah, and I know you are a huge fan of Brian May and his guitar work, as well as many other artists, but we gotta mention a big loss in the music community. And that's the death of Neil Peart, the accomplished drummer from Rush.
Possibly one of the best drummers ever. Absolutely. Rest in peace, Neil Peart. He is a big loss, for sure.
Right on,
Absolutely.
right on.
Well, can I say something here? Because I got blasted on Facebook because I said I'd never heard of the guy. Now, I never listened to Rush, the music of Rush, but I didn't know who that guy was. I mean, I've heard Rush before, but I didn't know the members of the band, and I certainly didn't know the drummer. And after looking at videos that people text me, he was a great drummer. I'll have to hand him that.
Good on you, Al. By the way, doesn't Al have a nice voice? I have to say something positive about Al Hardee, who worked at Kicks Country WKHX in the Atlanta, Georgia area for years. He worked with Moby of Moby in the Morning, and he does have really strong pipes, unlike me. So I got to say something nice about Al Hardee. Great voice.
But I never was a fan of the music. So, so therefore, a lot of people just didn't know who this guy was. It wasn't an everyday name that you hear, like Buddy Rich was a great drummer, who was always on Carson and that sort of stuff, right?
Sure.
And he was great in his own right. It's a different style of drummer, though. We're talking about really hard rock. Although, it wasn't like Iron Maiden, Rush. They weren't necessarily like acid rock. I mean, what would you define Rush as, Ryan?
I mean, it's definitely a kind of a niche thing. I don't really know what the right word is for it. It's basically math rock, music for dorks, which I am. Proud to be.
And you know I am. I'm a big geek. But, you know, and everybody knows "Fly by Night Away from Here."
Of course, everybody knows all the big hits and all that good stuff. He's phenomenal. I mean, he does the jazz stuff just as much as he does the rock stuff. He's a phenomenal drummer, and it's a huge loss to me. I really don't know much more to say about it than that.
You know, I cannot name a Rush song. I have no idea. You ever? I mean, you could put a list of song titles there, and I would know who sang it.
You ever heard the song
Right.
Subdivisions, which was a big hit of theirs in the early 80s?
No.
Fly by Night, which I just mentioned?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think if you're going to mention Rush and you don't know much about him, Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Spirit of the Radio, stuff like that. There's songs that you've heard that you would know, I'm sure, if they were played for you.
Yeah, but growing up, I listened to Top 40 radio. I didn't listen to rock radio. Now, rock stations, you know, would play that music, but I just didn't. And I had friends that liked that stuff, but I just didn't care for it. I guess they call it, but it wasn't heavy metal, was it?
I don't consider it heavy metal.
But what's the other group that everybody likes? It's heavy metal.
There's a bunch. AC/DC.
No, I liked AC/DC, but they weren't really heavy metal in my. I'm talking about where the guitar is just like over the top.
Like Def Leppard, like.
When I think of metal, I think
Well,
of
there was a
like
group.
Metallica.
Metallica. That's what I'm thinking about.
Metallica.
They were just here last year.
Of course, Lars and the gang. Yeah, man.
Yeah. What Metallica? Metallica and Rush are the same style music, right?
Not really.
Well, they're complex in the same way, the way that their song structures are.
Yeah, but AC/DC did basically like the song Highway to Hell. I like that song, but it wasn't really a heavy metal song.
I couldn't agree more. AC/DC to me is more of a kind of a amped up Chuck Berry style, just good old fashioned rock and roll.
Just good old fashioned rock and roll. Yeah, I like that.
1-4-5.
I like Foreigner. You know, remember Foreigner?
Yep.
I like that.
I had one of my first records I bought was Foreigner 4.
It's one of the best records of all time.
Jukebox Hero.
But you know, one group I really did not care for, I don't know, they had a couple of hits I liked, was Fleetwood Mac. I just didn't care for their music.
I'm not a huge fan myself, but I certainly, they deserve their place. And
Lindsey Buckingham. And
yeah.
I like Tusk. That was one of their stranger songs. It was a hit.
Well, Lindsey Buckingham did a song called Trouble that I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble. That's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic songwriter. He's a fantastic guitar player. But again, I'm not a huge fan of Fleetwood Mac either. But they certainly have a lot of great songs.
Well, do you have a favorite group that you like? I mean, you know,
Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Keep
Really?
It Alive. My absolute favorite.
You're a big Ozzy Osbourne fan, right?
Absolutely.
Sweet Leaf.
Specifically Black Sabbath, though.
Yeah.
I prefer that. I just like the way they went against everything that was going on at that time. Everybody else is singing about flower power and being all happy and stuff. These guys are from Birmingham, England, and they're not happy and living in some wonderland. So that's what I love about Black Sabbath, is that they really went against the grain and really spoke the truth. And
are they still around? I mean, do they?
They are all still alive.
Really?
Unbelievable.
Are they touring? Do they make records? Do they?
I don't remember when the last tour was. It wasn't very long ago. But
Ozzy's going on tour. He just announced.
Ozzy is still around, and he's still a phenomenal singer.
You know, I hate to say this. I don't hate to say it. I was a big fan of bubblegum music.
I like pop music too. Now.
I like Sugar, the Archies, the 1910 Fruit Gum Company.
Sure.
You know, that sort of stuff. I just liked it. I thought it was just kind of cool music.
I'm a fan of pop as well. Absolutely.
And Al, you actually have 2 radio stations that you program music for.
Well, I do a radio show on Music of Your Life, which is a network that is fed to a bunch of radio stations and online. But I also have Al's Place, which is my personal internet radio station that I run here from this very studio.
That's
and
cool.
It's fun. Cool. I mean, but see, I'm a big fan of adult standards. You know, like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Barbra Streisand, that sort of stuff.
These are all great artists.
I just like that. Yeah, it's funny. I grew up listening to rock and roll. I was a big Beatles fan. I still like that music. I like stuff from the 60s and 70s. Not much of an 80s fan. I think the 80s was the worst decade of music, in my opinion.
I'll have to agree.
It was. It was just.
I have to agree.
It's forgettable music if you think about it.
Well, I grew up, of course, in that era, and Ryan and will probably want to punch me in the face for saying this, but I had a phase where I listened to Duran Duran, and I liked a lot of their guitar riffs and the bass and
You know where they
Roger
got
Taylor.
their, you know where they got their name from, don't you? We talked about it at lunch.
Yeah, Barbarella. We mentioned it in the first PodBlast or two.
Oh, we did?
I think it was
Okay.
the very first one. Yeah.
Which I did not know.
From Barbarella, they were on Planet Duran Duran.
That's right. And I remember I mentioned, yeah, with Handaway Jane. You go, now wait a minute.
Well, I like Jane, and so does
Yeah.
so does
Ryan.
Ryan.
Ryan Settles. How quickly we forget. No, but you know, and she, look, a lot of people love her. She's really talented, but she pissed off half the country. So, you know, very, very polarizing person on one side.
Well, I didn't agree with that, but you know, when I was growing up in that era, I protested the Vietnam War.
Now you
Well, why wouldn't you?
You know, and you know, right after high school, probably maybe a year and a half after high school, I got a draft notice from the draft board.
Wow.
And I had to go to get my physical to join the military. It was the height of the Vietnam War. I shouldn't be talking about this, but anyway, after I got my draft notice, I went down and signed up to go into the Navy. I figured that the Navy would keep me out of the rice paddies of Vietnam. I'd be on a boat somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
If you have to pick, I get it. Yeah.
Do you think they should bring back the draft? With the young, generations.
I look back on it now, and it's probably not a bad thing because also you get a great school loan. I mean, they will put you through school afterwards, you know, and then you'll get health benefits for the rest of your life through the VA,
Which is a wonderful thing.
If you
it's a good
survive.
thing. Well, yeah, but you know, I protested the Vietnam War. I didn't care for it, but you know, that was a long time ago. So I don't blame Jane Fonda for what she did. Well, I do in a way, because she went over there and protested. But you know, she
We all do
apologized.
stupid things when we're young.
That's true. Well, she apologized.
But
She's
now-
also done a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah, but of course. Yeah, all right. Well, I was going to say, one thing I collect are soundtracks of movies, and I have several that I've brought of movies that really flopped and were not that great in the public eye, but the music was phenomenal. I'll just name a few, and I have some for the camera. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This had the Bee Gees, Peter Frampton. It was not that great a movie. I know you and I liked it, but a lot of people pan it and they say, oh, it was just garbage. And it was by Stigwood, who had done Grease. So this guy was on a roll at the time. He'd done Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and this did sell well, but it's a double album.
Is it on the Casablanca record label?
No, it's on RSO.
Well, I think that was Casablanca, wasn't it? Or later? Well, the Bee Gees started RSO, didn't they? Records, I believe.
I believe that is correct.
Yes, I don't know.
Casablanca is Kiss and a lot of disco stuff.
Yeah, the disco stuff was on there. Yeah,
Donna Summers.
And George Martin produced this version, but no, Billy Preston's on it singing "Get Back." That's a great version of "Get Back." But the single that still is on the air to this day is "Come Together" by Aerosmith. That was the biggest surviving cover from this record.
Yeah, probably the creepiest band in the movie when you see it.
Yeah.
My favorite song by Aerosmith is "Sweet Emotion."
Yeah,
it's a fantastic tune. Absolutely.
And just a couple of them I'll mention briefly that are good. I loved their version of "Good Morning" with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. Good morning, good morning. "Long and Winding Road" by Peter Frampton. Bring tears to your eyes. Just check it out. We don't want to get in trouble for music rights violations, so I can't play a clip, but it's on YouTube. These songs are all great, man. Polythene Pam by the Bee Gees, and it could go on and on. It's just a great album. Another good soundtrack for a good film, in my opinion, the Sharky's Machine soundtrack.
I can't say
That's
it's familiar with
forgettable
all of it.
music. You really. I mean,
No.
that movie is forget. I liked the movie when I saw it, but I couldn't sit through it again.
I don't know.
Could
if
you,
I could
Ryan?
either. I haven't seen it since it came out, so
No.
I honestly can't answer
Filmed
that
here in
honestly.
Atlanta, but you know, I just couldn't watch that again.
Here-
I like Burt Reynolds, but I don't want to watch.
Here's
that
some
again.
artists on here. "My Funny Valentine" by Julie London. "Sexercise" by Doc Severinsen, who of course was Johnny Carson's musical director on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Yes, okay. Wow.
But then you also had the Manhattan Transfer, singing Route 66. If you listen to it, you'll find it's a really good album. Street Life by Randy Crawford. Street Life.
Oh no, I see your next selection.
The next one, again, terrible movie, great soundtrack, Xanadu. And you know why it's good? ELO is on it, Electric Light Orchestra.
One of my favorite bands.
As well as Olivia Newton-John. And her songs were produced by John Farrar. And he wrote her big hits from Greece, like Hopelessly Devoted to You, and You're the One That I Want, and all that. But it's a wonderful soundtrack, I think. Magic, Suddenly. I mean, it's chill. It's not hard rock. It's not your kind of music, Ryan. But I think it's a pretty damn good one.
Hey, a good song is a good song is a good song. That's what I say.
Here's another one. Endless Love. It's a Brooke Shields movie.
I don't know.
It was Tom Cruise's first film.
Oh, is that right?
From 1981 was when it was released, but it was shot in 1980, and he has paid money, allegedly, to have it shelved.
Of course he has.
He's wearing little cut-off short shorts, blue jeans.
Right.
And his voice is really high in this. It's before Risky Business, 2 years before. And it just wasn't a good look for him. And he had a very small part in it.
I'm going to look it up. I'm not familiar with that movie
I have it on DVD from Europe. It's a Region 2, which is the European region. I have a region-free DVD player so I can play it at home.
Okay.
But it sends a terrible message, this movie, because in the movie, this guy is stalking Brooke Shields' character. And this terrible message is, at the end, the stalker wins.
Well, by the album cover there, it looks like he does prevail.
Yeah, he does. But his character burns the family house down.
Oh, wonderful.
Causes the death of her father.
Oh, good.
In a car accident. Inadvertently. And then there's a scene where the guy is making love with Brooke Shields in front of Shirley Knight playing Brooke Shields' mom, and she's sitting there watching in amazement, watching her daughter have sex.
Nothing stops true love, huh?
No. Anyway, but
that sounds disgusting.
But the soundtrack had some great tracks by Diana Ross and Lionel Richie. You know the title "Endless Love," but they also had a song called "Dreaming of You," which was good. Kiss is on here.
What song is Kiss have on there?
I like one song by Kiss. Can I tell you what it is?
Yes,
Beth.
Yeah, the ballad.
Oh, sure. Yeah, huge.
I Was Made for Loving You.
Huge.
So it wasn't written for this because this was 1980 when this movie was produced.
So the disco Kiss.
Well, yeah, that song's on here, and then some others as well. And then the last one I'll talk about is a movie that Al Hardee and I watched here. It's a 1980s sex comedy called Zapped with Scott Baio.
Yeah,
Willie
what a
Ames, and
silly
Helen
movie it was.
Oh, that's silly.
Very silly, where he gets superpowers, right?
Oh,
telekinesis and whatnot. But the soundtrack.
Did you get that album at Goodwill for 25 cents?
Probably.
No, I got it off eBay.
Oh,
some
I
years
see.
ago.
Scatman Crothers.
Again, I'm just trying to put out some rare stuff that no one knows about, but if you trust me and listen to the soundtrack, you'll find some tracks that are really good, especially on the soundtrack for Zapped. But Ryan, I got a question now.
Sure, what's up?
What's the best concert you've ever seen? And I want to ask this of Al, too, so I'll be thinking of your
Wow.
favorite concert.
Honestly, probably the very first concert I ever went to, which was ELO. And I'm not necessarily saying it was the best concert because of the performance, which was fantastic, but just because it's so memorable. I believe I was in 4th grade. Good grief, I couldn't even tell you what year that would be, but yeah, probably ELO, man. I mean, it's the most memorable to me.
Did they do the song? I'm just acting. I don't remember. That song, "All You Need Is a Miracle." Was that? Who did that? Was that ELO?
All I Need Is a Miracle. Oh, that's I think that's Mike and the Mechanics.
Yeah, it's Mike and the Mechanics.
Okay, I like those guys.
It was one of those cheesy 80s songs.
Well,
that
those
you were
are
talking
all the
about.
guys
One of
from,
the few 80s
Genesis.
songs is probably good.
Yeah.
Well, you said, what was your first concert again?
ELO was my very first concert.
Was your first or favorite?
I mean, I have to say it's the most memorable. To pick a favorite, gosh, man. It's
Chance,
so
what was your
hard.
first concert? What was your first concert?
Oh, God, I hate to admit it. Madonna, Like a Virgin tour.
That's a big show. That was a big show.
It was a big show, big time in my life, and I got into a fight over it. Because I probably deserved it. But I bought one of those tour shirts, and it had cut off sleeves, and it said Like a Virgin tour.
Oh, no.
So I'm walking around 8th grade at Dickerson Middle School in Marietta, Georgia, wearing it. And this guy who had a mohawk says, "Like a virgin, huh?"
Well, in all fairness, you might have deserved it.
Well, here's what happened. I said to him, I don't know if you're going to censor this or not, but I said, oh yeah, well it beats staying home and jerking off like you did. So we wound up going in the bathroom, and the guy sucker punched me in my lower lip, and it like busted my lip.
Well, you deserved it probably.
Well, I mouthed off.
Yeah, you do. You do that occasionally.
And then the next year, I saw Power Station. They only had one album that was an offshoot of Duran Duran, and that's actually a good album. I know you guys
got
will
to
beg
see
to
some
differ.
Fantastic musicians in that band.
Yeah, and some were
Really.
from Duran Duran, and of course Robert Palmer. Who had a big hit, a few years back.
I forgot the name of the drummer, but he's phenomenal.
Roger Taylor from Duran Duran.
That was the guitar player, wasn't it?
Well, there's a Roger
that's
Taylor in
Andy
Queen.
Taylor. Oh,
Andy
Roger
Taylor. Andy Taylor.
Andy Taylor's the guitar player.
Andy Taylor.
Yeah.
Is the drummer. You're right. And Roger Taylor, just like in Queen, I get it's confusing, but
yeah.
There's a Roger Taylor in Queen. Now, Al, what was your favorite and first concert?
Yes,
Well, thanks for asking. All right, I'm really dating myself. The very first concert I ever went to was Kenny Rogers in the first edition.
Nice.
I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
before he went country, basically.
Oh, right.
That's the first concert I ever went to.
Was that in the 60s? Or 70s?
It was 69, I think, 1969.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
I've
Nice.
seen Kenny
Very
Rogers
cool.
live recently, like in the year 2014, September 2014.
Well, I met Kenny Rogers. He's actually a nice guy. When 106.7, which is an Atlanta radio station, was a country radio station, Kenny Rogers was up there on the show. He was on the morning show up there with Rhubarb. And anyway, I met him, and he's a super nice guy. He really is.
Rhubarb. He passed away, unfortunately. He was a staple in country DJ.
He was a country DJ for years in Atlanta. He passed away about 2 years ago.
And a college, I don't know if he's a professor, but he was
Then
teaching-
after he got out of radio, he taught at Kennesaw State.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Wow, I haven't heard that name in years.
Yeah.
Kenny
Years.
still sounded good when I saw him in 2014.
Well, he's
could
not.
still
He's
sing.
not touring anything now.
Yeah, I mean, and of all things, this was at like a Georgia State Fair, Shriner Circus Fair, and but it was still cool. It was
Hey,
a
gig-
good concert.
A gig
He-
is a gig.
He gave the people what they wanted, and the
Yeah.
crowd was on their feet.
Certainly. I'm certainly an accomplished musician. So
In music, what group or person do you have the most records from? I mean, albums or 45 RPM. What do you have the most? Both of you. I mean, who? I can tell you what I have.
Well, tell us. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, please.
I have more Beatle albums and 45s than just about any other artist because I grew up with the Beatles.
I'm wearing a Beatles shirt right now.
Yeah, you do.
That Samantha Livingston got me out in Vegas. It's a Cirque du Soleil. Beatles love.
And I just grew up with the Beatles. I remember watching the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. They came to America.
Oh, you're very
And
lucky.
they had not been. And I remember that people from my neighborhood came over and we all watched it together. All kids that I was in school with. And we watched the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was great.
One of the biggest
Once in a
events-
lifetime experience.
One of the biggest events in musical
And I
history.
remember, NBC News, I used to watch that with John Chancellor. And I remember he did a news story one night. He says, there's a new group that's come to America that everybody is going crazy over, and they have long hair. And it was the Beatles. And it was the Beatles. And back then, it wasn't really that
I
long.
know.
It just kind of touched the ears. But, most guys back in the day would have their hair cut over their ears, like in the 50s and stuff.
Yeah.
But the Beatles let it grow just a little bit longer over the tips of their ears. But I remember it well. My favorite Beatle is George Harrison.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
A lot of people like
God
John
rest his
Lennon.
soul.
All of them were talented. Ringo wasn't the best drummer in the world, but they were all talented musicians.
They worked well together.
And I never saw them in concert, but I did see Paul McCartney twice.
I've seen Paul McCartney. Oh, you know what? Going back to asking about a concert, Paul McCartney was phenomenal. I think I saw him in the early 90s. That was a great show.
Oh, he puts on. I've seen him twice. He puts on a great. The first time I saw Paul, it was at the Omni, which is now gone. They tore it
Yeah,
down
I
here
saw
a long
him at the
time ago.
Omni, yeah.
But it was Wings. He was still married to Linda.
Even better.
And so,
Even better.
and I had tickets. I got them through a promoter, so I had really great seats right in the front. And I remember he and Linda came in on a platform that was like raised up, and it came down like that, and it was just
very cool.
But before that, it had it had pictures of the Beatles. You had John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
Yeah.
And they lit up the whole stage on the back, and they said that was then, this is now. And then Paul McCartney and Linda came down on Wings, and then they opened up with Band on the Run.
That's cool, man.
It was a great. That's probably
Wings.
the best concert I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And the second best concert I ever went to was Elton John.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've never seen Elton John.
I've seen him twice. He puts on a great show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, he's just a great entertainer.
Excellent.
And this was a while ago, but he was phenomenal.
Tom Petty was good. God bless his soul, rest his soul. I saw him live a
Tom
couple
Petty
times.
is amazing. What an amazing band that was. Yeah.
And Neil Young was great.
I've seen Neil Young. He was great. Wow, I'm starting to remember all the
Queen,
shows I've seen.
Queen I saw with Nile Rodgers as the lead singer of
Which
Bad
I thought
Company.
was fantastic.
Yeah, and now they have Adam Lambert, the guy who was on American Idol. But man,
but that's just me.
I saw Paul McCartney in 2009, and again, we're international, but we're talking about Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I saw him, and it was at Piedmont Park. They had like an outdoor concert series, and I was fourth row.
Wow.
With my girlfriend Samantha Livingston.
Wow.
And I got dragged up on stage in reprimand. Because I
think he's bragging. I don't believe it.
No, I have video of it. No, I'll tell you.
All right, you show me that. I want to see.
I had a camcorder, okay, and they had a strict no recording policy, and this is in 09, August of 09, August 15th, 2009. The iPhone was already out, so what they didn't know was people were shooting video all around.
But you
with
just
their
happened to get
phones.
caught.
I had an old school camcorder in my hand, and at the end of Live and Let Die, which was phenomenal, all the pyrotechnics and explosions and everything going on.
Sure.
At the end of that, I think this is what got me in trouble. I said to Samantha, I said, man, it sounded like a bomb going off.
Oh, no.
And I think that alerted security. We hear bomb. I don't know. But then Paul McCartney, this is on the monitor, have it on video. He points to me and does no, like no recording. Next thing I know, these goons come out into the crowd. Samantha's my witness. I hid the camcorder down my pants because I didn't want it confiscated. And here's the thing. I had a digital camera in my pocket. So these goons picked me up like a wishbone, one on each arm, on stage. It stopped the shows right after Live and Let Die while they escorted me literally backstage.
So you're like Raj on the on Good Times, or what is it called?
Yeah, it was What's Happening with the
What's
Doobie
Happening,
Brothers,
thank
that
you.
episode, where the recorder spills out. So anyway, I hit it.
That was Rerun in the episode of What's Happening Season 2 with the Doobie Brothers that Rian Settles was referencing there.
I didn't find the camcorder, so I still have the footage. But I tricked them because when
I want to see that.
When they took me, I have that. When they took me backstage, these Russian security guards, like they spoke English, but they had a heavy Russian accent. They go, "You were taking video."
Very
And I said, "No. Do you see a camera?" And I'm sucking in my gut because I literally put it down my pants. That's not a testament to my manhood, by the way, that I could fit a camcorder down there, but I did. And I said, "No, I had this digital camera. It does shoot video." And they go, "Give us the disc." And so I took the disc out of the digital camera, gave it to them, and I said, "Does this mean I have to leave?" They go, "No, you go back to where you were. No more video." And so I lost all the great still pictures I took, but still I kept the video footage, which I still have. Then to wrap up this story, to wrap it up, this is an outdoor venue, and we're on like a big sheet, a towel,
Right.
I have to go all the way to the back, and then I'm trying to get back to the fourth row, and everyone thinks I'm cutting in front of them, and I'm getting shoved and hit. They're like, "You can't get, oh, you're just trying to cut." I said, "No, I was in fourth row. I want to get back to where my girlfriend is."
Well, that sounds
where my fiance is.
That sounds like it ended up being a terrible show.
Well, I literally stopped the show not for the right reasons, but that's a true story. So kind of a weird Paul McCartney story. And unbeknownst to Paul, everyone had shot video with their iPhones because again, this is when the iPhone in 09,
well, I guess
summer of
09,
was
yeah,
out.
everybody had the phones.
So
Wow.
it was just a silly policy, no recording. I don't think they even implement that.
Yeah, but they
at
do that
concerts
all the
anymore.
time now.
Well, they want
do.
you not to,
They
but
do.
people do anyway.
But if you see footage of concerts or whatever, all you do, you see these iPhones up in the air.
That's what I was going to say. Instead of
it's
it's
just like-
replaced the disposable
Instead of
cigarette
lighters.
lighter.
Exactly.
It
That's
kind of
exactly
reminds me. I saw a cartoon once, and it showed the Titanic sinking, and the people in the water were holding up their iPhones.
Guys,
iPhones are everywhere,
I saw Madonna in Atlanta a couple of years ago, and she made everyone wait an hour and a half. She was an hour and a half late.
Yeah, well, you know.
I like some of her music. I think she's a great actress.
Absolutely.
I think she's screwed up her life with her political views, but I think she's a good actress, and I liked her music.
As far as an artist,
well, Guy Ritchie and her,
absolutely.
they had a nasty divorce, and she was trashing him at the concert, talking trash about her ex, airing her dirty laundry. Anyway, but it was a great show. Don't get me wrong, great show. I like the Material Girl song, "Call Me a Sissy." I like that tune.
No, I mean, she's
and many other of her songs.
She's hugely popular for a reason.
See, I wasn't when I saw her the first time in my first concert. Of course, it was puberty.
Of
course. So.
Was there ever a group or a person that that's no longer with us, or they no longer perform that you wish you'd have seen and didn't see?
What a great question.
Oh God, numerous.
I can name one right off the bat for me,
What's
and I
that?
had a chance to see him many times. I just didn't. Elvis.
Oh yeah.
I had a chance to see him, and
sure.
I didn't go see him. I should have. But
You had a chance.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to say, just right off the top of the head here, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
A legendary guitar player that I had many opportunities to go see, and for some reason or another, I just didn't go.
Chance?
Freddie Mercury.
Oh, that's a good one.
I did like Queen. I liked some of their music. I thought Bohemian Rhapsody was a terrific movie, and I like their music. I really did.
And that's probably the band, but besides the Beatles, Queen, I have all of their albums. I have their 45s. You asked earlier of each of us which you have the most of. It had to be Queen, I would think.
Sure.
For
Well,
sure.
God, we were
Haven't really done a count, but I would, off the top of my head, I'd say Queen is the.
I mean, we were obsessed in high school. With
Oh yeah,
Queen.
Keep Yourself Alive, and remember we did
Still
those
one of my
music
favorite
videos where
records.
I painted on a mustache.
I do.
Still have that.
Do you still have that?
Yeah, I do. Of course, I'm a pack rat, and we recorded songs together, you and I.
That's right.
With an 8-track
We
and
did it
equipment
to,
from Radio Shack.
What did we do to?
I'd like to hear that sometime.
Well, I have it. I have
God.
it. One song was called Steamroller. One was called Let's Get High Together. There's several others.
What was the one you did for
Experimental.
the class?
Psych Out?
About the drugs.
Psych Out. Psych Out.
But we did it to the tune of what?
Tie Your Mother Down, Queen. But most of it was original music. That was the only cover, but you're going...
I'm cringing already. It's been so long since I've
If
heard
you
that.
see me run, get out of the way. I'm burning down the town. FNA on the run from the law. You'll never believe what I just saw. I could actually sing before I lost my voice.
Oh no, that was so fun doing that. Oh my goodness.
I wrote the lyrics, and I would hum the music, and then you're so good at guitar, you would just play what I was humming because I could not read or write music.
Oh my God, I'm embarrassed already.
Fun days. Actually, Steamrollers are pretty. These were comedic songs, but
of course.
But we digress.
Oh God, I want to. That's why I gave you that CD recorder. I want.
Yeah, I'm going to burn you a
all
copy.
of this stuff.
I have all of that, all those songs.
Does that mean you can burn me stuff too?
Yeah, thanks to Ryan, he brought me a nice present today.
Yes.
Which I can burn stuff. I really couldn't do it through a computer because I have a lot of stuff on cassette, and you can't do that with a computer. You have to do that with the burner. I have to hook it up to my receiver with the inputs, and I'll play the
This
tape.
is just the
Anyway.
easiest and fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
Just to preserve it in some sort of way,
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, besides Madonna, was there a female singer that you really liked? Oh, besides Madonna. Well, Madonna had her whole entourage, but
Right.
I mean, is there one female singer that you really would just get awe over their music and stuff? It's got to be a female, not a male. We'll ask the male in a minute.
That's a very good question.
That is an excellent question.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
What do you got?
Dionne Warwick.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
She recorded, and she's also Whitney Houston's niece, I believe, because Whitney Houston.
And she's going to be in Columbus, Georgia. I don't know when you hear this PodBlast, but she will be Dionne Warwick performing in Columbus, Georgia coming up. Look it up online if you want to catch her. She was a staunch defender of OJ during that trial. I'm just giving a fact to it. I'm not judging. Just saying. Let's see.
Mother was Dionne Warwick's sister. How does that anyway, she sang all those great Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs. One that comes to mind is a very popular song, Raindrops Keep Falling. Well, they wrote, she didn't sing that, but her first big hit was Walk On By. But I like Dionne Warwick. I did think she was just a great artist and a great singer.
Oh, I agreed.
And I'll tell you who Frank Sinatra said that was his favorite female singer.
Who's that?
Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah. You know what? There you go, right there.
Ella's great too. I mean,
Phenomenal.
she would have to be up there with Dion. Yeah.
For me, I got
Absolutely.
several: Linda Ronstadt, Hart, and Olivia Newton-John.
No, Linda Ronstadt is one of my favorites. I
Tie.
love Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt's good. Yeah.
You know, she got started with a group called the
Joan
Stone
Jett.
Ponies.
Joan Jett.
Oh yeah, sure. Man, I love Joan Jett, man.
She did a song called.
Do you wanna touch
No,
me?
no, no,
Gary
no,
Glitter
no, no.
remake?
She
Gary
did a
Glitter.
song.
What?
It's
Crimson and Clover?
I know it's rock and roll.
I love rock and roll.
I love rock and roll.
Add Amy Winehouse to my list as well. She was phenomenal.
Rock and roll,
Put another
yeah.
dime in the jukebox, baby.
Yeah, that's a great
That song will
song.
never die. Absolute classic.
Sherry Bomb in her solo days with the girls.
That was yeah. What was the name of that band? The Runaways.
The Runaways, very good.
The Runaways. Yeah.
They got that name after Del Shannon. He had a song called "Runaway."
I saw.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
I'm
song.
just guessing. I don't know. I just said that.
I like that. I thought you were actually.
I saw Joan Jett in '98 in Atlanta, and she pissed off the crowd because she was playing her new stuff, and she refused to play any of her classics. And the crowd got really rowdy. Anyway, long story short,
What did she expect?
She wound up playing Crimson and Clover to satisfy the angry mob.
love her version of Crimson and Clover. I love it.
It can't beat Tommy James and the Shine.
No, it will never.
Yeah,
it will
no,
never
but
beat the
it's
original.
good though. I mean, I like each.
The production
No, it's
on that on the original is amazing. It's still amazing to me.
Now I know what your answer is for the male, but I'll let you reveal that. I could guess. Let me give a hint. Okay.
Go ahead.
This is a radio.
Lola Falana?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Barry Manilow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
That's what I thought he would say.
No, I like Barry Manilow. He's not my favorite, but he's, you know how he got started writing jingles for McDonald's, Pepsi Cola. You know, he was a jingle writer.
It's a good way to make a living.
And he made a lot of money that way. And then he, of course, went out and started, singing songs. And Mandy was his first big hit.
Yeah.
You know, when they were going to do that song, they were going to call it Brandy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but a group called Looking Glass had released a song just before called Brandy, You're a Fine Girl.
Oh, yes.
So
I
they
know that too.
changed it to Mandy.
Wow, interesting.
A little bit of information
No,
there.
that's interesting. For
But
sure.
my favorite male singer of all time. Now, I told you Elvis. I wish I'd have seen his concert, which I like Elvis. Don't get me wrong. But my favorite male singer of all time is Strangers in the Night. Da 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 da. Strangers in the Night. He's right behind you, Chance.
Oh, Frank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Blue
Sinatra.
Eyes. I
Oh,
know,
Blue
but
Eyes.
waiting for you to say.
I know. I was getting embarrassed that I can't think of it.
Strangers in the Night. That's from a movie, actually. A Man Could Get Killed with James Garner. Did you know that?
I did
I've
not
never
know that.
seen that.
That's a great
did not know
movie.
that.
It came out in '66, I think, 1960. Anyway, Frank Sinatra does the song at the end on the end credits. He sings "Strangers in the Night," and it became a hit.
Yeah.
And his second big hit, you know what that was? With his Nancy Sinatra.
The boots are made for walking. No,
No. She did that by
They did
herself.
a duet. I don't think I know this.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. But I don't even have a guess.
Well, tell us, Al.
No, just scared.
A duet that Frank did with his daughter Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I don't know.
I'm gonna-
Something Stupid was the name of the song. And actually, they said they recorded it in one take.
Oh, wow. Well,
You ever hear the song "Something Stupid" with Frank and Nancy?
Can you hum a few bars?
No.
No, I've never heard of it.
I'll find it for
I
you.
honestly can't say if I've heard it or not. I mean, I
It's
would
a great
recognize it, I
song,
guess,
"Strangers
if I
in
heard
the
it.
Night."
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite male singer?
I already said Freddie Mercury.
That's right, it's Freddie Mercury. And I can't remember. What did you say?
Me, I'm going to have to go very modern, which is probably nothing that you guys are really like. Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. I thought.
No, yeah, right on.
Now, I've heard of Soundgarden. I'm not familiar with their music, but I know who they are.
The guy's range and he's just a beautiful singer. Whether you like their music or not, you certainly have to admit that, it's like when we were talking about Neil Peart. Whether you like Rush or not, you recognize talent when you see it, or hear it, I should say, not see it. Yeah, I have to say Chris Cornell for me was.
What about Dave Grohl? Do you like?
I think he's fantastic. An amazing songwriter. I mean, they sell out stadiums, so he's doing something right.
Did you like Kurt Cobain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Nirvana.
Yeah.
I tried to deny him, and because I thought it was kind of simplistic and stuff, and I was always into like metal and stuff like that. But yeah, they got a lot of good tunes, man.
You guys are gonna beat me over the head, but I think Michael Jackson was a damn good singer.
Oh, one of the biggest talents of our time. I mean,
No, Michael Jackson had talent. I'll have to admit. I like the Jackson 5.
I grew up with Jackson 5. Yeah.
I have a Christmas album they recorded. It's great.
I'm sure it's fantastic.
It's a great. I have that one and the Supremes Christmas album, but and it's great. I mean, it's just they do a version of "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus." It's just an awesome song.
Yeah.
Jackson 5.
Jackson 5 is a phenomenal band as well.
No, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked his music back then. I'll have to admit it.
Yeah.
Off the Wall, I think, is a better album than Thriller, in my opinion.
I think Off the Wall is a fantastic album. I think Destiny is a great album. Wow, he's got so much music he has. I mean, that's a huge loss, Michael Jackson. Whether you got to put aside all the stuff, whether you believe he did it or not. He certainly contributed.
Well, he contributed to music. He certainly was very good. I mean, I really did like his music. I have some of his records. I mean, I got some of his 45s. And,
I like Michael McDonald. Yeah, I'm on back. Yeah. Garbage galore. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on back. Taking it to the street. Yeah. Enough said. Did I bust your eardrums out, Hardee?
No, I turned them down.
Okay.
You were prepared.
I was ready this time.
There's so many artists out there, man, that, that's why this is a topic we can revisit when Tom's here. And
I would love to come back and talk some more. I can do this all day.
Be more prepared. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I didn't prepare anything today.
Plus, I'd love to meet Tom. I'm sorry you're not here, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I really would like to meet you.
And I mean, we appreciate your support. You say you listen to our show and you like it. And
I think Ryan's one of our biggest fans.
I absolutely love it. I listen to all of them. Yeah, and even before I started listening to it, the ones I missed, I've gone back and listened to. I thoroughly enjoy it. So.
I appreciate that, man. And we've had better
I'm
shows than
flattered
others.
to be here.
Let's tell folks how you two met, and I'll tell you how I met Chance. And of course, I met you today for the first time in person.
Yeah.
So how did you and Chance meet?
Well, high school. I'm not sure how we exactly became friends, though. I mean, obviously, Chance was a bit of a cut-up, if you will, in high school.
I think
he's unusual. Put it that way.
Very.
I think it was through mutual friends. It was through mutual friends.
I think so, and we were a couple of hoodlums, in case my mom or my wife.
And Chance told me
hears this.
today that you guys haven't seen each other in a long time. How is that?
21 years.
Well, how is that? You live in the same area.
I went to one of his concerts he did in '97.
I forgot when I did this back in 2020 that I'd seen Ryan in 2011. He stopped by to record an audition for me. I was sending my agent. So it slipped my mind at the time.
So it's like, what is that?
God, is that the
22
long
years?
ago?
What is this?
No
These
grief.
years 2020 now. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
23 years. Good Lord.
It's funny. It's like I was thinking on the way over here. I was like, I haven't seen Chance's face and. I can't
Since
believe it's been that
97.
long. But
we both forgot. Oh, that's embarrassing.
A lot lately, so it doesn't feel.
Did
like
you hook back up because of the podcasting, or
No, I'm wrong.
How was it, man?
I'm wrong.
Good, I remember.
I forgot. I did see you like in 2012 or 13. You came to my old place and recorded an audition for me.
That's correct.
Oh,
That's right.
I'm so
That's
wrong.
right.
We saw each other. It slipped my mind. I needed someone to hold the camera for an audition I was doing because I do acting on the side. I have an agent and
Yeah,
stuff. Big
that's
whoop,
right.
but-
You're correct.
But that's what it was.
Right.
And you were helping me, and you brought your guitar over.
Right. That's right.
That's right.
Wow.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
2012.
So how did you
say
guys meet?
2012.
How did I meet Chance? All right, I've worked in radio most of my life, and I was working at Cumulus Media here in Atlanta, and I saw Chance was hired in the sales department.
Right.
And a few times I would walk by where he was sitting in his desk in the sales area, and I don't know, you just said hello a couple of times. You just sort of like, and so that went on for a few weeks.
Okay. Actually, I met him at Cumulus Media for an orientation. When I was first hired years ago, the HR department had me go around to see how different people perform different duties at Cumulus Media Atlanta, which at the time was 6 major radio stations in Atlanta, then Market 8. I think it's Market 7 now in the country. And Al would put together post-production of weekend paid programs, financial shows and things like that. And he'd record people too during the week, and he'd be paid a fee per show to do that. And so on my second day, I believe, they said, why don't you go see Al Hardee and watch what he does? He would be off Monday. He would be working there Tuesday through Friday part-time, working on paid programs and block programs. And so I went in there and watched him do his thing, and we got to talking, and we found out we both collect 16 millimeter films, which is rare, especially someone my age. I'm a little bit younger than him. And he's like, you collect film? And I said, I have quite a collection of film. I have like the entire series of The Fall Guy starring Lee Majors. That's 110 reel-to-reel episodes, including the unaired pilot and the aired version of the pilot, which on DVD was butchered. They cut out actor Paul Williams from Smokey and the Bandit, the little dude, and he's a songwriter, of course, and singer. And he was in the Fall Guy pilot, and Fox cut him out. Now Disney owns Fox, so hopefully it'll be restored. I don't know what that's about, but I digress. So we got to talking, and we learned that we both collect film, and that's a rare thing to have in common. So anyway, let me get back to what Al has to say about how we met. And so after that, of course, when he'd come around to my area of the office, I would be friendly to him and talk with him. And eventually I'll let him borrow a film of mine. And then he invited me over to his house. He has a home studio, and he has quite a collection over there. Anyway, let's get on with this.
I really hadn't met him.
Right.
And then we worked together on paid programs, you know. And anyway, I ended up talking to him, and we just started talking about different things, and film came up. And I said, well, I collect film, 16 millimeter and 35. And then Chance says, well, I collect film too. I'm a big collector of 16 millimeter, have a big collection of movies, and it's really started from that. And then Chance was bringing films for me to watch.
Yes, that's right, like a rental service, but I wasn't charging.
Every week he would bring me a new show, like he would bring an Invader show, he would bring a Fugitive,
Time Tunnel.
He would bring a Time Tunnel or 12 O'Clock High, you know, and then I would just take them home and watch them and clean them and everything and bring them back.
He would make them better because he would like fix a bad splice with his. He has a splicer down there.
Chance is a film collector, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't own a splicer. I mean, in the film collecting world, you have to have a splicer. If your film breaks, you got to put it back together.
I would use tape.
He would use Scotch tape.
Yeah, I use
which
tape.
is a no-no. You just don't do that.
Is
with
that
film.
a no-no?
That is a no-no because over time, Scotch tape it gets gooey.
Oh, it's gonna melt.
It just kind of gets gooey because when it runs through the gate on the projector, it'll
tear up.
It'll
cause sprocket damage.
It's called sprocket damage and whatever. But anyway, that's how we met.
But actually, the first time we met was in, I want to say June. It was June 22nd, 2015, because the office manager's assistant, Marty, at the station, and this is 6 terrestrial radio station working at, she would have an orientation for me, and one of the people on the list was Al Hardee.
That's right.
She goes, go in and watch him do his thing, and I did, and that's when I first met you. And you were editing a show.
Yeah, okay. That's right. He came in and watched me edit a show.
You were actually, I think, in the green room or something. Like you weren't in your studio at your board. You were, you had your briefcase and you're at a computer or something in the jock lounge.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
I would enjoy watching that right now. Watching people do their thing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I am.
But we had a good relationship there. It's a shame that the radio station got sold and then we lost our jobs. But okay.
We also had a weekly show. It was a home improvement show that I was the AE on, which is an ad executive, and he would man the board and produce the show. And so every week we would do 2 shows, or every other week rather. It'd be every 2 weeks we'd record 2 one-hour shows, and I got to learn and watch Al do his thing, and I asked a lot of questions, and anyway, so
very cool.
The rest is history, literally.
Yeah. And then we just decided one day, did we decide to do a podcast while we were working or after we worked?
It was after. It was in June of 2019. And, by the way, you introduced me to Tom at a place called Cinevision. We went to a movie screening.
We went to a movie screening there, and Tom was there with me, and then Chance showed up, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
And so what was the movie? I don't remember. Oh, it was Cinema Paradiso.
Right.
which is a great movie. And so we watched that over at Cinevision, which is a private screening room here in Atlanta. And then later on, we were just talking. I said, Chance, let's do a podcast on pop culture. And
that's right. And Tom was involved with.
I said that.
A show that was on A&E. I don't know if it is.
No. I was saying, well, I wasn't going to go there, but I'm saying, he found a lovely lady he's with now named Susan, who
right.
you hear her voice on the show.
Yeah, she's on the beginning of the show, yes.
And so he was really involved with her when we started the show. We did maybe 2 episodes, and then Tom said, I'd like to sit in on your podcast, and we did PodBlast 3, The Honeymooners, and I invited him to be part of the show. Now, Tom deserves credit. He came up with the term PodBlast.
Which I think is brilliant.
Al and Tom's Pop Culture Podcast was the original title.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
he created our logo for social media and for SoundCloud and other. We're everywhere. We're on iTunes.
Right,
and,
right.
You can find us
Spotify and Stitcher, too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But the best thing, in my opinion, is the Facebook Live video, so you can see the props and things. I always bring collectibles, and,
That's
and
how
you can see.
That's how I watch all the new ones.
Yeah, that's the best, I think.
Yeah.
Visual aids are always good to have, and,
Yeah.
and you can see us do our thing.
Yeah, this is a topic I didn't think I was going to like, but it turned out to be a terrific topic because I like music. I mean, I've been a disc jockey since I was 18 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always been around music and radio. We haven't talked about country music. I never was a country music fan. I didn't, my parents didn't listen to it, so I didn't listen to it. I grew up listening to top 40, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, that sort of stuff.
Right.
But my parents listened to that's what we call a MOR station, middle of the road in my hometown. And they played Sinatra and all that sort. They played the easy listening stuff. And so they would listen to that. So I got an appreciation for that music as well because they listened to it in the car. They wouldn't listen to the rock and roll stuff. They listened to the easy listening stuff. Anyway, so I had an appreciation for that. That's why I like Sinatra. And so, but I never was a country music fan. And I got a job working at Kicks, Atlanta country station, and I was a disc jockey there for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And so, but I learned to like country music after being there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But today's country, I just don't like it at all.
It's just pop now.
It's just pop. That's all it is. It's what Top 40 was back when I was growing up. So I'm not a big country fan, but I did go to some country concerts, and one of the best I saw was Hank Williams. Hank Williams Jr. Not senior, he's dead, but Hank Williams Jr. I saw at the Omni, and I also saw Reba McEntire at the Omni. She puts on a good show. I like Reba.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, she puts on a good show. Those are the 2 country shows that I've seen here in Atlanta that I remember. I've also seen George Jones. There was a
legendary
here. There's a place here called. In Hiawassee, I think it is. They used to do country concerts that's north of Atlanta, and I saw him there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I saw Randy Travis once.
I thought Toby Keith was great in concert. I saw him and ZZ Top. It was a great
Toby
double
Keith,
bill.
Yeah, he's good. I like Toby Keith.
Huge.
Hey, how about ZZ Top, man? Party on the patio.
When I worked at Turner, speaking
of,
no, never mind.
Beer drinkers and Hellraisers.
So ZZ Top, Smart Dressed Man, I liked.
Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah, Sharp Dressed Man. Yeah. That's a great song.
Give Me All Your Love, and that was from the Eliminator album.
I mean,
that was
Billy
a big
Gibbons,
breakout.
one of the finest players on the planet. I mean, just an amazing player. I love ZZ Top. Love it all. I even like when they got into the digital drums and all that stuff, which is it worked for them.
The
somehow.
Afterburner album.
It worked for them. Yes, that is basically it right there.
Did you like the group The Grateful Dead?
Yeah, of course. I saw them in concert several times.
I've seen them in concert. I was never a fan. I honestly, I went there for the other reasons.
Right.
But I don't get this. When I was working down at Turner, I was going to say this a while ago, down at CNN Center, they were at the Omni a lot. And people would camp out days before they even came to town. But you could see the sights. Everybody had those tie-dye shirts on, and they had, if it was in the springtime, they had tents they set up. They would sleep there.
It was groupies.
It was amazing to see those people. It was just like, I didn't get it.
Well, they were trying to keep Woodstock alive. It's like Woodstock every show,
You got to hand it to him. I mean, the guy sold out for 30 years every single show.
Do you remember
every show was sold out for years?
Do you remember Space? I love their it was like their halftime show. It was called Space, and it would just be a lot of strange
just a
sounds,
bunch of noise,
experimental. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, it's fun to play. I would think. I never really got into their music that much, so.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly not knocking them.
Yeah, to each their own, right?
Yeah, to each their own. Yeah.
I didn't care for Grateful Dead music, but I liked seeing the people down there. That was amazing.
Oh, it was a good time. Yeah. I definitely enjoyed going down there. There was like 3 days every time where they came into.
No, the place was
town,
packed.
you know?
I mean, it was just, it was just those actually fun days. I enjoyed seeing that, but like I said, I never went to one of their concerts.
Now, you were asking how we all met. Now, I don't think we talked about how you met Tom. We've talked about before on previous PodBlasts, but they met at Turner, Ted Turner's company, WTCG, which became WTBS. They both worked there along with Bill Tush, who they're also friends
with. That's right.
I
started working at Turner in 1976. That's a long time ago. And so this is when we were on West Peachtree Street. You know, they had the big tower downtown, and then they had the studios right up under. This is way before CNN. And so I got a job there working in the film department and also a switcher. A switcher is a person who actually runs the films and shows it on the air, the videotapes, you know. So I got a job doing that, and then we moved over to Techwood. Ted bought a plantation on Techwood Drive, which was across the freeway downtown, and remodeled the place and fixed it all up. And anyway, I worked there, and then same year we moved over there, Tom came to work because he moved here from Newport News, Virginia. He was in television up there. Anyway, I was downstairs working one day in my cubicle. I had it where I edited film and stuff. And one of the production guys says, there's a guy upstairs that wants to meet you because, you know, you collect film and you're a big film buff and stuff. I said, okay. So I went upstairs and was introduced to Tom, and that's how I met him. And he was a director there for years, and so that's how we met. That was like back in, I don't know, 83, 84, so that's a long time ago.
So this is back when they were doing the wrestling down in the basement?
Oh, yeah. Well, they did
Mr. Wrestling #2.
We did that.
Wildfire Ridge.
We recorded those shows. We recorded those shows. We recorded those shows every Tuesday.
Gordon Soley. You ever meet Gordon Soley?
Many times.
Did you? All right.
I met Andre the Giant too. Remember Andre the Giant?
That's actually
he was there. I remember meeting him. I met all those guys.
That's actually.
But what's funny? I shouldn't say this.
What's that?
We had a bathroom on that same floor. It was Studio C, they call it. But anyway, there was a bathroom right across from the control room. It had showers in there. And so after we recorded them, you know, beating up on each other,
right?
You know, I went into the bathroom one time to take a leak, and they were all in there showering, and they were all naked, of course. And I made it a point not to go to the bathroom in that particular one after we recorded a show. I didn't know that they wouldn't.
Oh man,
that was a sight to see.
I wasn't sure where
but
this story was going.
I never went back after that. I would go downstairs to the bathroom.
I don't blame you.
Did you ever meet Jan Hooks? When
Oh
she was
my,
on the
many
Touch
times.
Show?
Oh yeah, many.
She was
great.
great.
That's right.
Jan Hooks was great.
That was before Saturday Night Live. That's how she got discovered.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, she was she was on the Tush Show. Yeah, I met her. She's a nice lady.
All about
Pretty
Rest
lady.
her soul, she's no longer with us. But
friggin' cancer.
She went on to be a pretty big star. She made movies. She was in a movie called Private Benjamin with Goldie Hawn, which was on TV the other night. And of course, she was on Saturday Night Live.
Designing Women.
Yeah, Designing Women.
Designing
so
Women,
she was,
yeah.
you know, she was.
Wow,
really
I didn't
nice.
realize she passed. Did not realize.
Oh, years ago. Yeah.
Really?
She,
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. She was really fun though. Very funny.
Do you have an opinion of rap music or Al Hardee?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Okay.
Need I say any more?
Nope.
Do you?
Not particularly. I like all music though. I've tried to have an open mind.
I'm sure there's an appreciation for it, but I just don't. I don't care for it. It's not my style. It's just.
I like Shaka Khan. That's
Well, it's just like
that's total apples to oranges.
I don't. What a white guy. I like Run DMC. I sound like an idiot.
Opera, but I don't like rap, but I don't opera either. You know, so there you go.
Well said. Well, you know, like there's good and bad in every genre of music. Rap just happens to be a genre that I think is particularly bad for me. There's a few tunes out there, I guess.
But you know, there's music that
I couldn't tell you what they were though.
Like there's 60s music that's still played on the radio today in some areas, and they use. If you notice, they use a lot of 60s music on TV commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that?
Yes, I do.
But, 10 years from now, you won't hear a rap song on a commercial. I mean, you won't. I mean, it's just forgettable music, kind of like disco is now.
Well,
nobody plays disco music anymore.
I think about that too. It's like, what are oldies going to be? Well, I'd like to say when we get old. I guess I am kind of starting to get old, but are oldies going to be stupid rap songs? I mean, like,
I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. No,
I'm old school. I listen to 60s on 6 on satellite radio. I listen to the 50s channel.
Yeah. Well, my daughter.
I listen to the 70s music.
Yeah, my daughter's 16 and still listens to the Beatles, so that music is still fantastic. I mean, it stands the test.
Well, I have
of time.
friends that have sons and daughters that are, they're teenagers, but some of them like music that I liked, and they listen to that. They don't listen to today's current music.
Which I love. That's
now,
fantastic.
Chance, he listens to disco when he's in his car.
I listen to everything.
He listens to Studio 54 on Sirius satellite radio.
Well, I did, but now I'm listening to other things on Sirius. I'm not just stuck into that because it's too repetitive.
Well,
but it just puts me in a good mood sometimes.
Well,
but
I noticed today you had it on the 60s channel, which was cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to branch out a little bit with my Sirius XM.
You've always been pretty open-minded with music.
I try to be. I try to be. But the Beatles, I will say real quickly, there was a great cover, in my opinion, in the early 80s of the Beatles. It was called Stars on 45, and they were Europeans. And I love those covers of the Beatles songs that they did.
Well, I've got those records, 45.
So do I.
They recorded on the RCA label. I've got all of them, I think, just about when all they recorded. They're fun.
When we cover music again, I'll probably sample just a few seconds. We can probably only get away with, 30 seconds of any song? Is that the standard?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. Well, I'll pull some clips later. I'm ill prepared today. I don't have any clips or anything. I was kind of chicken thinking.
Well, we kind of threw this together today,
Yeah.
because Ryan came out. He wanted to see the place and meet us and everything. We had a nice lunch, thanks to Chance.
God damn it. My pleasure.
Over at the Buffalo House here.
And I've been at the comic book show this morning. It's been a busy day. I met my other friend Jeff and his wife Deb. And anyway, we came here, and now we may watch a movie. We've been giving Ryan a tour of this place. Won't go into too much detail. It's incredible here, as I've said in previous shows.
It is.
It's a museum.
Yeah, I love it.
And we're going to look at Godzilla, the 2019
It's called Godzilla,
movie.
King of Monsters.
King of Monsters, which we saw in the theater.
We saw it last summer.
And
we saw it for free. We snuck in and saw.
Well,
we went to see
Scallions.
We went to see Endgame.
Yeah, we paid to see.
We paid to see that, and then.
Like they need the money.
The theater next to it was running Godzilla, and so we just snuck in there, and they were running trailers, and so we sat down and watched some trailers, and then the movie started. We ended up watching the movie. And it was good. It was really good.
And that must have been 5.5 hours, because Endgame is over 3 hours in itself, and then Godzilla, that's a couple hours.
Godzilla's about, 2 hours?
Man, my ass was sore. I was getting needles and everything. I mean, just, damn, sweating.
Yeah, they wouldn't now, because you put on a little bit of weight back there.
What?
I'm just joking.
Oh, man.
My weight's down.
Don't look at me.
Chance used to be skinny. Oh, he's not fat. I'm just joking.
I'm actually perfect weight, according to my doctor, right now.
You look perfect.
Yeah. You look fine. You look okay. But no, I like I said, music, everybody, if you had to do without the visual media like television or the audio media like music, what would you give up?
Television.
I would too.
Yeah.
As long as I could have my music, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I could give up watching TV.
Yeah, I could too.
And as long as
I really just don't watch, unless it's watching a movie or something. I don't watch that much television. I certainly don't watch any sitcoms or anything like that.
Well, no, I watch movies. I like Showtime. I watch some of that
movies.
stuff. Yeah, I watch the movies and stuff like that. And I like Live PD.
There's a few guilty pleasures I have.
That is, I like Live PD. That's just good. I turned Chance onto that show.
Yeah,
that's
I like
a good
it.
one. It's entertaining
on A&E. But and also I love to read about music. I love to read about
me too.
The theories behind it and trying to learn about what inspired someone creatively.
Absolutely.
Can't talk.
We know what
creatively when they wrote beautiful music. I like soundtracks where there's just instrumentals of movies.
Sure.
I mean, there's so many. I love all sorts of music.
You know what kind of music I really like?
What's
and I'm giving away but I like and I have a bunch of CDs. I like Gregorian chant music.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Relaxing.
I don't know. I just that music to me is just so good.
Yeah.
I've got several CDs of that music, and it's good to, if you put it in a CD player in your bedroom at night and play it, it'll put you to sleep.
That's
It's
perfect for
great.
that.
I mean, it's just haunting music, but I like chant music. I just,
Sure.
I mean, chant. I mean, we're both Catholic, but like I said, I've always liked that music before I was Catholic. I think that's great music too.
Well, what about classical, like traditional? Like, go ahead.
I'm not a big classical music fan, but I like symphony music. I like a big symphony. I think that is, is awesome.
It's very cool.
I saw a video on YouTube the other day of the symphony, and they did the theme to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Clint
one of
Eastwood
the
movie.
best songs ever.
That video gave me chills. It was
It's one
so
of the
good.
best songs
Go to YouTube and just type in The Good, the Bad, and I forget what symphony it was.
Yeah.
But with the choral group they had and the instruments, what do they call that when it goes doo-doo-doo-doo? I mean, you saw the person playing that. Is it a flute? It's like, yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming it is. But
I don't know. But it was spot on. I mean,
that song gives me chills every time I hear it. It's just so powerful.
Oh, it's a great. Even when we talk about it's a great.
Song.
And speaking of that, that's a great movie theme. Do you have any other favorite movie themes?
No, there's so many.
That one's up there.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman, Jaws. John Williams is probably my favorite.
John Williams is just absolutely brilliant.
Composer.
Yeah.
Well, John Williams is good, but I'll tell you my favorite.
And John Barry's good. And
I like Jerry Goldsmith.
I was going to mention Jerry Goldsmith.
He's no longer with us, but he
I'm not
one of the
sure if I
best
know
scores
what-
was for a Western he did called Wild Rovers, and that's with Ryan O'Neal and he's dead now. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, Wild Rovers is a great theme he did.
No.
And so I also like, who did the theme to the movie Cocoon? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I don't remember
That's a
the
great
song.
soundtrack.
Could be.
Was it John Williams? Did he do
Alan
Cocoon?
Silvestri, Bill Conti? I don't know.
No,
I
it
really
may have
don't
been Alan Silvestri. I think it may have been.
You know
That's
where
a
he,
great soundtrack.
You know where he
too.
got started? Alan Silvestri, and he did the music, by the way, for the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War.
I know the name.
Chips.
Oh, what's
Dun,
Chips?
dun,
dun,
That's
dun,
an
dun,
song.
dun, 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 dun,
I think
dun.
that's a great song.
But a guy named Parker came up with the theme in the first year, and then they got rid of him and brought Silvestri on, and he did like a disco version of that
Oh,
Chip's
cool.
main
Oh,
theme,
that's
and
gotta
he
be
did
cool.
score some cool music for the chase scenes, like real kind of disco. Yeah, man.
Well,
It's
speaking of
almost
that,
like porn music or
Exactly.
something.
Well, speaking of that, do you have a favorite theme from a TV show?
Oh, there's so many.
Oh,
I tell you my favorite right off the bat.
what's that?
The theme to 12 O'Clock High.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Dominique Frontier.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great score. I mean, I love the theme to 12 O'Clock High. That's my favorite. And he did a lot of stuff for television.
I like Barry Gray. He did a show that you all hate, Space 1999, the
I
first
can't
year.
for that.
But he had
Oh, I
a
used
great
to live
funk.
for that show.
He had a great
I lived
funk
for that
theme.
show. Well, yeah, the song for Rockford Files is pretty jamming.
That's Mike Post.
Yeah, that's a great theme, too.
How
yeah.
about Quincy Jones?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sanford and Son.
I mean, so many.
And another one is Johnny Mann, theme from MASH.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I just add a couple classical cuts that I like? Tchaikovsky, Mock Slav, and Gustav Holst, The Planets. He did a suite for each planet in our solar system, the Milky Way, and my favorite is Mars, the Bringer of War. And you've probably heard it. It's been used in movies.
Okay, cool.
I won't hum it and embarrass myself, but it's, look it up. It's Gustav Holst, The Planet Suite, Mars, Bringer of War.
I have to do that.
I will definitely look that
I think music makes a movie or a TV show.
I agree.
If you think
Yeah.
about it, I mean,
Agreed.
it really does. I don't like a fake laugh track, but I think
can't
music
stand it.
makes it's a big part of a TV show.
Oh,
And a movie.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it really is.
Yeah.
Even throughout, I mean, it's kind of, you don't recognize it all the time, but it's there. I mean, and if it's not there, it's just
Yeah. I
And it's
agree.
funny, I guess that they have to watch the whole episode and create the music while they watch it. Is that
Right.
correct? Yeah.
That's correct.
I think it seems like a super cool job.
This has been so sweet. This is our sweet 16th PodBlast. I don't know how we'll air this, but this literally is our 16th one. and
I've
that's so
actually enjoyed
appropriate.
this. This is it's been a topic that I've wanted to talk about, but I didn't realize that having Ryan here was a big help.
He knows so much about music. I knew it would be good.
I really appreciate you guys having me.
And I wanted Tom to be here too. I mean, I don't want any hurt. I wish Tom were here. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I do too.
Honestly,
absolutely.
Well, you have to come back. We'll do it again. I mean,
this is a topic we can cover several times. It's just so vast. I mean, I'm sure when I play back, I'll say, "Oh, why didn't I mention this? Why didn't I mention that?"
Oh, it's
song?
always going to be like that. I'm sure, right? I mean, you're always going to think of stuff.
There's a concert I probably forgot about, like The Who. Oh my God, The Who!
Oh.
What a great concert! The last tour. Don't you hate it when they say it's the last tour? It never's the last tour.
How many last tours did The Who have?
I never saw
the 1989 Lakewood.
82, I believe, was the first one.
I never saw The Who, but I like their music.
I saw Pete Townsend and the whole gang, Roger Daltrey. By the way, I like that. What was it? Roger Daltrey did a solo. It was a soundtrack to Mick Avatar or Mick. It was a song called "Free Me." It's a solo song by Roger Daltrey called "Free Me."
I remember the video.
And the video, it showed this big dude. He's like Roger Daltrey's in a straitjacket and like a rubber room, and some big guys about to approach him.
Huge budget on that one.
I love that
from
song.
some movie.
I love that song. Won't Get Fooled Again.
Of course.
Yeah.
Man,
you know the organ solo. In concert you see all these laser lights. And then it's just
all that like synthesizer sequencing and stuff, and the way it does algorithms and stuff.
Oh, it's great. It's
very
great.
Cool.
You know, I like seeing the video of that. You know, their first. I've got their 45. The first hit they had really before they became popular was a song called "I Can't Explain." You remember that song?
Of course.
That's a great song.
I have all the records.
I think it still stands up.
Hooligans.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Did you like the Moody Blues?
Gosh,
I
yeah.
did. I did.
I like
Very
Yes, Roundabout.
Oh man, we
Yes.
got into Yes pretty heavily in high school as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
High school. Yeah.
I like didn't they do a song called Roundabout?
Yeah, Roundabout.
Yeah.
That was another long ballad, kind of like the length of a Bohemian Rhapsody.
Prog rock,
Do you like Foreigner?
I love it.
We're talking about that was one of my first albums I
that's
bought
right,
with my allowance, Foreigner 4.
That's some of the best singing ever. What's his name? Lou Graham? Is that
Yeah.
his name?
Been waiting.
That wasn't too bad.
Another group that led to other people that I liked in the 60s was the Spencer Davis Group.
I know the name, but what's...
Yo no sé.
What?
That means I don't know in Spanish. Yo no sé.
You never heard
Yo no sé,
that?
señor.
All right.
No, I'm not making. I'm just trying to be silly. Tell us.
Google Spencer Davis Group on your phone and see what famous singer came out of that group.
Spencer Davis.
Spencer Davis.
I don't have my phone with me, so I'll leave that to you, Chance.
I probably have all these mean text messages.
Well, just avoid those.
Let's see.
Spencer Davis Group. Just look it up real quick.
Spencer Davis. All right.
And Ryan will know who it is.
I feel like I should know. I'm drawing a blank here.
Spencer Davis Group.
Spencer Davis.
I love British bands, by the way, as well.
The
as
British invasion years of the 60s.
Yeah.
That was great. I love the Animals.
Hermits.
Oh.
Hermits. I love
Hermits.
Oh,
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
I'm looking up Spencer Davis Group, gentlemen.
All right. What does it say?
Let's see. What do we got?
All right. Moving my mic here. Birmingham, United Kingdom.
Steve Winwood.
Steve Winwood.
Yes. Who's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love Steve Winwood.
He's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
He was lead singer for Spencer Davis.
Oh, man. He was so good.
Oh, he was just a kid.
Oh, yeah, he was. I mean, it's just... what was that song he recorded that I liked? I've got his album, actually. Or the CD. I have the album. My mind's blank. I'll have to think about it. Sorry. It happens when you get old. I know you kind of forget things, right?
Yeah.
How about the Yardbirds?
Oh, yeah. Come Tomorrow. That's a great song. Shapes of Things to Come.
Shapes of
Yardbirds.
Things to Come.
Just throwing out some names. The Kinks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Kinks.
Part of that British wave.
Boy, they have a huge catalog. Man,
Oh, the Kinks are great.
They stayed together for a long time. I mean, we're talking through the 80s there.
The Rolling Stones, for goodness sakes.
Well,
I mean,
the Stones, of course, absolutely.
I always like Emotional Rescue. That was one of my favorite tunes
One of my
of theirs.
favorites.
I met Mick Jagger once at a movie theater here in Atlanta at the Midtown Art.
Please tell me he was a nice guy.
He was a very nice guy.
Awesome.
He was in town doing the movie called Free Jack.
Oh yes, I remember.
And so,
Ryan McPherson. Was
me and my friend Marty, we went and saw a movie. I forget what it was. It was a movie with Alec Baldwin, and he was married at the time to
Kim Basinger.
Kim Basinger. It was a movie. It was a movie that they were in. Anyway, we were sitting there watching the movie, and I spoke to him. I said, Mick Jagger's sitting right in front of us.
Wow.
And, you know, and so he was with some other people, and I said, yeah, that is him. And so during the movie, he got up and went to the bathroom. I guess he went out to get. Anyway, my friend Marty got up and followed him. And he went into the bathroom. And Marty said, "Can I have your autograph, please?" You know, like that. And he was very nice. He says, "Yes, you can. Can you ask me after the movie is over?" And so, true story. And so, when the movie, he came back and sat down in front of us. And after the movie was over, we all went out. And he was the nicest person. He sat there and gave us autographs, and people come up and talk to him. Cool. Nice guy. I'll never forget that. And that was it was a 4 o'clock. It was in the afternoon. I guess they weren't shooting film that day or something.
I heard you could fit him in the palm of your hand. That's what somebody told me.
Well, he's very skinny.
Small.
He's skinny, but he's short, kind of like Chance. But you know, he's skinny. He's he's just like a chicken on acid when he's
well, you
dancing.
know, the skinny people are the ones that tend to live longer for some reason. Like,
that's
I don't know why.
That makes perfectly good sense to me, actually.
That's probably why he's still out there rocking and rolling.
Have you ever met anybody like that, like in a setting, like in a movie theater or a restaurant, that was famous that you asked to get their autograph or asked to say hello to them?
God, it seems like I have, but
yeah,
I'm actually usually just too embarrassed to go up and ask him.
I've been on so many movie sets, like either working as an extra or even as a principal part, which are harder to come by. But we're always told, don't be weird. That's the rule on set. Don't be weird. So I never really,
Ted Turner
unless it was an autograph show.
Ted Turner had a rule at Turner when we worked there that when CNN opened up, they were downstairs and we were upstairs. And they had a show at noon with Don Farmer and Chris Curl. I forget the name. It was Noonday or something, you know. But it was a kind of a talk news show, and they would have guests every now and then. But there was a memo put out that if you see somebody famous in the hallways, don't ask for their autograph. It's just impolite.
It is.
You know, they just didn't want you to do it, so nobody did. And so one day I was upstairs working, and so I said that Clint Eastwood is downstairs.
Oh man!
And so because we were either working it, and so I got up and went downstairs to CNN. There was Clint Eastwood standing on the side, waiting to go on the air. Cool. And I never asked for his autograph, but I talked to him. He was really nice.
You should have been a rebel.
He's a I should have. And one other person I met one day when I worked at Turner, I was working, and I heard this voice, and I said to Eddie, I said, that sounds like Bob Hope. And so I said, and I opened up the door, and there was Bob Hope standing right there. I was as close to me as I am to you.
Yeah, very
and
cool.
I said, hey, it's Bob Hope. He says, this is a true story. He said, hey, where's the bathroom? So I told him where the bathroom was, and there he went. That's how I met Bob Hope.
That's awesome, man.
I didn't ask for his autograph, though.
Bravo to Marty, though, scoring Mick Jagger's autograph. That's cool.
Yeah, he did. He still has it to this day, as far as I know.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Now, this isn't a musician, but I had lunch with Martin Landau, who was one of my favorite actors who passed away, Oscar winner for Ed Wood. Pull the string! Pull the string! But I won't go into that.
That was a great movie.
I won't go into that because that's not a musician. You asked about a musician, but that was on set. Right next to him, we had our conversation. He was the nicest
Well, Clint Eastwood sang. He sang in the movie Paint Your Wagon. And then Bob Hope sang lots of stuff. Thanks for the Memory, famous song from the big broadcast of 1938. And that became his theme song, Thanks for the Memory.
Our friend Jim Goss at newsmakerline.com does a funny impression of that song. He does a parody song of
Thanks for the Memory?
Yeah.
That's a great song.
I think it's called Thanks for the Memories. I don't know. But no, I mean, God, it's just such a great topic. I can't wait to cover it again when we have Tom with us. And Ryan, I mean, you got to come back maybe next Sunday.
Happily we'll come
I can
back,
stand here off to the side. You'll be in my seat, and Tom will be back in his seat.
I would love
What do you think about that, Al?
I guess so. That'd be fine with me.
All right, we can mull it over with Tom and see what he thinks.
I'll see what his schedule's going to be. He works a lot, so...
We're starting to produce more shows. I'm happy about that. This is PodBlast 16.
If not next week, just at any time, I would love to come back. I've had an absolute blast. No pun intended.
You had
seriously.
Did you have a pod blast?
I did. I had a pod blast.
I knew you would be a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just glad you could find the time. I know you're a busy family man, and thank your wife for allowing you to break away on the weekend family time.
She actually encourages this. She loves it. But thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you having me on. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hey, Al, can you play us out with our theme? Is that pulled up or?
I'm gonna edit the show later. How's that?
All right, that'll work.
I'm gonna put it together
That'll
later.
work.
Yeah,
I like to
that'll
hear
work.
for a rare time when we hear the full version of our theme, which I selected. It's the Power Station from that one album we talked about earlier.
I am familiar.
It's a
with
weird
it.
song called "Harvest for the World." It sounds like socialism, and that's okay.
Well,
I
I
guess
can
depending
play
on,
it. I mean, I can play it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, we never really played the full version. We're always talking over it. And I just wanted to on our first music show play it out if we could.
We can do that, I guess. You know.
So I'll say goodbye.
Well, listen, Ryan, thanks for coming along. I mean,
Thank
I really
you.
do it. You know,
Thank you very
you're
much.
a big fan, and you
Yeah.
know, we had a great meeting today and a good lunch. Thanks to Chance.
I enjoyed it very much.
And we'll do it again.
Okay.
So, and I thank everybody for listening, and we'll say goodbye for this right now. But you know, be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
And that's how that was on January 12th, 2020. Back live with you. I was with you live the whole time, holding up for the camera. Oh, Jesus. Lord in heaven. And forgive me, I said the Lord's name in vain when a record fell. My key light just fell. There we go. That's better. But it is way over time. I didn't anticipate doing a full-fledged pod blast. I thought this would be maybe a couple of hours. So I did a little bit more prep than I thought. So I'm going to have to skip on some of these birthdays, but I'll cover them on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Pacific Time in the Nostalgic PodBlast Facebook group. But I will say this. I'll just mention some names. This is on September 16th, we had some big heavenly birthdays. I'll just mention names. Lauren Bacall, Peter Falk, the great actor who played, of course, Columbo with a glass eye. Anne Francis, Honey West, among other roles. She was in Forbidden Planet. She was just a gorgeous, gorgeous actress. Beautiful, beautiful woman. And she was in a couple Quinn Martin shows like The Fugitive. An episode she acted opposite a very young Charles Bronson. I think it's called The One That Got Away. In Color, season 4 of The Fugitive. And then she was in The Invaders, season 2 episode The Saucer, where David Vincent, the hero, captures an alien saucer. And Dabney Coleman was in that episode as well. But Anne Francis guest starred in that one. Morgan Woodward, who's gone. It was his birthday on September 16th. He had a great voice. He acted in Dallas in the original Star Trek and an episode called Dagger of the Mind, where he played an insane dude, and then he played a crazy captain in the Omega Glory season 2 of Star Trek, which was one of the scripts Gene Roddenberry wrote as a second pilot, along with Mud's Women and Where No Man's Gone Before, that was chosen to be a second pilot, the first episode with William Shatner, the second pilot. Now, some birthdays of the living. On September 16th, Mickey Rourke, Jennifer Tilly, Molly Shannon from Saturday Night Live. Molly Shannon, musician Richard Marx, the great B.B. King. That's a heavenly birthday. That should have been my heavenly list. And magician David Copperfield. Always wanted to see him perform live. Never have. Not yet. He was with Claudia Schiffer for a while. He bagged her. Rapper Flo Rida. It's his birthday. Ed Begley Jr. and the legendary Hall of Fame pitcher Oral Hershiser had birthdays on September 16th. And on September 17th, here's some heavenly birthdays. The great John Ritter that we talked about recently in the PodBlast in depth. So we talked about him in part 3 of my tribute to the greatest stand-up comedians of all time. It was the anniversary of his passing away on September 11th, 2003. So I did a little mini biography on John Ritter. So I'll leave it at that if you want to check it out. That was PodBlast 75, number 75. Part 3 of my tribute to stand-up comedians, which I'll talk about this Sunday, part 4 of my tribute to the great stand-up comedians. I keep running out of time because I cover stories and birthdays, and it seems like I blab for 2 hours at least before I get to the subject at hand, which is stand-up comedy. Anne Bancroft, another heavenly birthday from September 17th, Mel Brooks' wife. And of course, she was in The Miracle Worker opposite Patty Duke, who won an Oscar in that 1961 film playing Helen Keller. Hank Williams, happy birthday in heaven, September 17th to Hank Williams. Roddy McDowall, the actor best known for Planet of the Apes movies, but he was so much more than that, and he was an artist as well. Roddy McDowall, who played Cornelius in the Planet of the Apes movies, birthday was September 17th. And David Huddleston, he's a great Southern actor. He's in heaven as well. David Huddleston, happy birthday. Paul Benedict, another heavenly birthday. You know who he is. He was a British actor who made it big in America. And he was actually on Sesame Street playing the number painter and also known as the Mad Painter. And he was the title character of those series of comedy shorts for Sesame Street. And he was also Bentley and the Jeffersons, the neighbor across the hall, who would ask Mr. Jefferson to step on his back when he had a backache. So happy birthday, Paul Benedict. And then a living birthday, September 17th, the great former Chicago Bulls coach Phil Jackson. Happy birthday to Phil Jackson. And I think something got cut off, darn it. Darn, I had more. But I'll save it for Sunday. I'll do a review on Sunday. I've gone over 3 hours. It's time for me to say good night. And I want to thank each and every person. Congratulations to Scooter Parker for winning the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea DVD set, Season 3, Part 2. And I will mail that to you, to your P.O. Box, or meet you in person at a time that's convenient for you, that's convenient for me. Maybe we'll grab a beer or something. And also want to thank Barry King of BK on the Air for calling in. And thanks to each and every one of you that watched. And I'll be back Sunday talking about stand-up comedians, as I just said, Sunday at 5 p.m. Atlanta, Georgia Eastern Time, and 2 p.m. Pacific, and 4 o'clock Central and Mountain Time. Have a great, great evening, morning, whenever you're listening. Hope everything's going great for you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Nostalgic, with a C, Nostalgic PodBlast. And please join our Facebook group, The Nostalgic PodBlast, so you'll know when we're live on Sundays. And now Thursday nights occasionally. I'm going to try to do this semi-regularly on Thursday night, if it's not too intrusive. People join the group for the stories and the pictures, and they don't necessarily give a crap about, or a flip about my live PodBlast. So I appreciate you guys putting up with it in your feed if you're not digging it. But those that do watch it, thank you very much. And we'll see you on Sunday. Fistfulofradio.com is where you can find this show and so much more great entertainment, like Pro Football Fast Break, Saving Our America Show, BK on the Air, The Wilder Ride, and Jamie Chapman, a great new addition. And go to JamieChapmanFES.com, and of course Fistfulofradio.com, and oh, how could I forget the Cigar Store Idiots, another fine new addition, and so much more. The best of Mike Brooks and Jim Gossett, newsmakerline.com. Again, now, be warned, those that are politically neutral during the day, there's some content that's political comedy, and then at night, it's completely safe. That's where the geeks come out at night, like myself and Barry, but we have other great talent, like Alan Sanders. I didn't mention him. So anyway, just go to fistfulofradio.com. The schedule's right there on the main page. Thanks again for listening. Take it easy, and hope you have a great, great weekend. Good night.